practically every one of the top 40 records being played on every radio station in the United States is a communication to the children to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden symbols and messages, as well as all the lyrics of all the top rock songs. And they all sing the same refrain. It's fun.
This is a special request. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensimedia, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it ganja.
Welcome to the Adam Dunn Show. I am your host, Adam Dunn.
And I'm your co-host, Mitch Shenassa.
Good job. At least you called yourself co-host, otherwise I would have called you something else.
Yeah, I know.
I like making up new I think. What are you doing, Crunchy?
New, but it's always guest.
Exactly. So we have a very special sort of show. I said, well, every show is special. Has we ever had a non-special show?
No, but
First of all, last week's show, I'm going to say thanks to Bike, was awesome. We got so much good response.
Can we get Bike on camera for everyone to thank him in
Bike
person?
live.
Bike on the bike cam.
That was awesome. You guys were amazing.
You were amazing.
I did a great job sitting there, but I
You
couldn't
did a
stop
good
smiling
job.
the whole time, and I can't tell you how many people have mentioned it to me since. And
Yeah, no, it was awesome. It was definitely like, I think, our big long. It was perfect timing too, because right before the Cup,
sure,
we didn't even really like. It wasn't like we sat around thinking like, how can we make the most exciting show before the Cup? It just happened.
it was amazing for sure.
So and I got we talked with G after a bit, and so
Cool.
it's just nice that we get this little communication. And hopefully today on the show, I'm trying to get Kay on the show today too.
Nice.
To continue the Legendary Dudes of Cannabis, I guess is what we should probably start calling them.
Legendary Dudes of Cannabis series. Is that what we want to call it? Yeah.
I'll see you guys. But and Kay, by the way, if anybody doesn't know that, he's Trichome Technologies and been written about more than almost anybody, I think, in High Times, and yet nobody knows who he is, which is awesome.
Awesome.
Because he keeps his stuff on the DL.
The underground lives.
Exactly.
Not all over Facebook necessarily.
Yeah, he's not
You'll
one
hear
of-
people talking about him, but you won't find him.
No, exactly. It's like it's the exact opposite of a lot of times when people are like, "Wow, everyone knows this, but no one's ever smoked the weed, or no one's ever
Sure.
seen the product or seen the proof." And with him, what I remember as a kid reading High Times, looking at all the rooms that he built, they were always like, "Now that's a room." You know what I mean? There's a real room, no messing around, proper AC. Everything was like before people even used AC. Oh, AC! Why would you do that? You know what I mean? It's like now it's kind of mandatory. You have to think cooler temperatures, and everybody kind of understands the resin, and they understand a little more about. You don't need tropical environments inside your house. It's not the idea. But anyway, so we'll try to get Kay on board here today, and also Mila, trying to get Mila in the studio for a minute too, because we're helping her promote her Dabadoo, which we're renaming the Labadoo since it's
At the
lab, which, imagine that. Yet another stellar event at the lab.
We still have a couple more options for fill in the blanks for these Legendary Dudes of Cannabis. I was telling Mitch, we won't announce it yet till we get it recorded, but we on a roll here, so keep going with it.
Yeah, no, I think so. And the key is that we are in the perfect place for that, because they all end up just like in Amsterdam when I was living there. It was like I didn't really have to think too hard. It was just like they just kind of came through. I mean, this week we've got Ed coming into town. We've got the gurus.
Everyone.
So Ed will be at our place. I'm just going to throw things out there because there's so many events going on. It's like if I just try to wait, and then I'll probably forget half of them. So as they pop into my brain, I'm going to throw them out there. This Friday, 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, Ed Rosenthal at the Hood Lab. It's brought to you by Cloverleaf University, and it's going to be me and Ed doing a sort of seminar together, a little freestyle. I let Ed throw up the photos because he's got an amazing collection of photos that he's been putting together over the years. He always loves to. He definitely loves to put up. It's like I did a slideshow with Ed. Well, he did the slideshow, obviously, but I hosted it in 1993, and I thought, wow, this is it. This is the pinnacle of my career,
Yeah.
I've got Ed Rosenthal in my place, and now over the years, and we obviously have worked together on lots and lots of things, but this will be a real good time for people to get a chance to meet him, and we're going to have it. It's going to be 1 to 3, so it's going to be kind of condensed, but we've got lots. If you got crazy questions out there. Between the two of us, I think we'll be able to answer most of them. Can't say all of them, but most of them. And also this week we've got we've got plenty of events going down. We've got on Friday is the Ed Rosenthal, as I was saying, 1 to 3, and then we've also got a. If you happen to be on the 420 tours and you have your wristbands, then the Hood Lab will be your savior this whole week, because we're gonna like offer. We're basically creating like a safe haven for people if they're cruising around, because one of the things is they can get to go to all these dispensaries and buy cannabis, but then what are they gonna do with it all? They can't. You can't smoke it all on the bus. I mean, it is a limiting experience, because one thing is dabbing on a bus is not that easy. I'll tell people you might want to practice a little bit before you get up there, because hit a few bumps and timing is crucial. You know what I mean? So if you want to just chill and do dab without bouncing around, you can come by the lab all week. We'll be offering. We have hemp donuts in the back.
Oh, that's live now, huh?
Live hemp donuts.
Dude, how are they? Did you have one this morning?
Yeah, well, I didn't have one this morning because I couldn't get to the shop. But I'm going to get the limo will be here to pick us up, loaded with donuts.
Excellent.
It's going to be awesome. And then we'll head down to the show, which I have to mention, of course, today is the opening of the big show. It's going to start in about 4 minutes from now or something like that. What time is it? It starts at 12 o'clock, so 10 minutes. We got 10 minutes till the opening of the doors at the big show.
And this is just the buyer's day, or this is open to the public?
No, this is just the buyer's day. First 2 days are strictly business to business, which is interesting because like people don't realize that the Cannabis Cup is a big event, but it's hard to get a lot of business done because of the combination of half the people are there just to party and do dabs and whatever.
More than half, I'd
say.
say.
Maybe 92%.
Yeah, closer to 92%.
A lot of them. But in general, at the big show, if you happen to have, if you're in the industry, you have a head shop, dispensary, or any of these, good opportunity to go see the best glass blowers in the world, see some of the latest innovations and products. It's pretty interesting. Did you see the percentage spread of the different things? The one thing I did like with Gustavo, who runs the big show, is he's a information freak. You know what I mean? He's all about
that thing. Yeah, that thing was. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Facts and figures.
So basically, it tells you how the percentage of the different industries that are in the show and what huge amount of glass. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean,
it's primary. So to let people know who Gustavo is, if you've ever cleaned your bong with Formula 420, you owe Gustavo a thanks when you see him at the big show. Gustavo's a dude behind Formula 420.
And if his stuff made your finger slippy and you dropped the bong,
he owes you a bong.
He owes you a bong, so go make sure you collect.
And he's at a show full of them right now.
Yeah,
so
it's the perfect time. You could roll in and be like, I'll just take that. I mean, I broke this $20 piece, but I'll take that $2,000.
And since then, he's done, he has his stash jars now, and he does a bunch of things now.
He's a multifaceted guy. We're trying to get him on the show for 5 seconds, too. We'll see. I mean,
he's supposed to call in today, but we'll know. And who we definitely have calling in today is Bo Johnson. We'll get him on the horn. I'm going to pull his number out of my phone, and we should call him in a little bit here.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we were trying to talk to him last week. That was kind of the beginning of the show. Unfortunately, he wasn't. He was in the air flying, so we didn't get a chance to talk. So this will be a little follow through. And if you actually had questions from last week, or you had some CBD information that you were looking for, probably now's the time to figure that out.
Yeah, and what Bo mentioned to me, and that's the way we're definitely going to get him within the next 5 minutes. So maybe like get your pens and papers and your recorders and stuff. What Bo mentioned to me is, this is about cannabis and healing as well. He knows probably more than anyone about CBD that I've met, but on top of that, in general, for really using cannabis for medical purposes, he's a mastermind at it. And I would definitely, if you have questions about it.
Well, and he's a patient. He's a patient himself. So it's one of those. It's one of those, and that's kind of one of those deals. I think that's where cannabis, from a healing point of view, is interesting because a lot of people. I mean, nobody has a problem self-medicating to try to work out a problem that they may have. And we get interesting results because of it, because there's one thing we don't have to do is remind it, like, hey, take your medicine.
Take your medicine.
Don't forget to take your medicine. Whereas I think that's where most people screw up. They get like antibiotics. They do like a week's worth, and they're supposed to do it for a month, and then they wonder why they get like a resistant thing or something. It's like classic. With cannabis, kind of the opposite. You don't really have to be convinced that you might want to, partake at that time. So
can't wait to partake.
Yeah. So it's actually it definitely works out in the sense that we're barely missing a beat when it comes to like being on time, and maybe one day you're like So no, it's how's the chat room looking today?
Full. Packed house.
Well,
That's cool. Good thing we got a packed house because we got giveaways too. We got tickets. I'm not into this stuff, but I know people who are, and this is actually a really good show. It's Carl Denson's Tiny Universe, Kyle Hollingsworth, Dumpster Funk, The Orb.
The Orb's huge.
The Orb's huge, dude. Two Bob Crew, huge. Mountain Standard Time. I feel like that has people from String Cheese Incident in it. I'm maybe totally wrong there. I don't know this music. But yeah, this is a good show. So we got a pair of tickets, so 2 tickets each for each day. It's the Days on the Green, so I imagine it's Fiddlers, I imagine. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
so
this
is sponsoring it. Take a look on the back.
Oh, I know. Sponsored by Edson, Maiden, and Mats, as well as.
And then notice how it says, though pot is legal, public consumption is not.
So
this is a word of warning from Edson.
But it is Days on the Green written in pot leaves.
And if you have a problem,
418, 419, 420.
You know who to call.
If you get in trouble.
Yeah, right there. Boom.
Right there. Boom.
Boom. Sales. All right.
That's why they're lawyers and we're doing a podcast.
Exactly.
But
no, awesome. This would be a really cool show.
You guys want these tickets?
I mean, this is definitely.
I may have convinced Adam to take a pair for himself.
Really?
No,
I can't.
If you guys want them, call. I know we're booked. We're booked, but you guys can win them.
I'd have to say, 420 week is turning into like craziness when it comes to the amount of events that are going down.
Are you getting emails? Like I got 2 emails this morning saying, "Hey, I know it's late, but can we link?" Like, no, we can't link up. This is hitting up Santa Claus the 3rd week of December, man. There's elves to whip.
Yeah, no, it's it comes and the funny part is that it's like, you know, classic situation. I mean, same with me at the show down at Big. It's like, you know, because I'm working with Sheldon, and of course Sheldon does all the printing for everybody, then that means we're last in line because we're like so close to the source. The closer you are to the source, the farther back you end up, you know. But no, everybody is of course trying to come in last second, and
already someone wants those tickets. Cool.
Welcome to the Adam Dunn Show. Who are we talking to? Hello. Not there. Maybe check the sound volumes. No. All right. We got a stalker.
Call back, stalker. If my pager goes off, though, I gotta go.
They were calling before you guys got here, too.
Did they?
Really? Start taking messages.
Have we got rigs here, or we only got?
It looks like we're on flower.
Rig situation.
Oh, here we go. We got some serious problems.
We must be in trouble.
What did we say? Something wrong?
Just a quick correction.
I knew it was
correction.
The Days on the Green.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's taking place. It's taking place at Sculpture Park. That's right behind the Denver Center for Performing Arts.
He's supposed to filter all information for me. So
I don't know about that. It's got a bunch of other logos on here. It does say Sculpture Park on the top right here, though.
Microscopic
It's like the dancing aliens down at Spear in California, I believe.
Exactly.
Excellent.
The weird sculptures that,
behind the Wells Fargo Center.
that some people call art. Denver Public Art. Yeah, that's where it's taking place Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And believe it or not, they put that on the ticket. We didn't. That wasn't part of our logo.
So it didn't originally. It wasn't intended to say though.
They filled some space.
But like you said, hey, you get in trouble there or somewhere else. You know, give Edson, Maiden, and Mats a call.
Right
that's exactly what I was saying. I mean,
he heard it.
I know.
We're giving a shout out.
I said the marketing.
Things are binging. What does that sound mean? Is that someone messaging us? Is that the jar lid? That's the jar lid.
Jar lid, yes.
All right, well, guys, if you want these tickets, again, Carl Denson's Tiny Universe, Kyle Hollingsworth, Dumpster Funk, The Orb, Tea Leaf Green, Two Bob Crew, Stir Fry, the Mike Dillon Band, Mountain Standard Time, Weeze Us, bunch of other people. It's 418, 419, 420. We got tickets for all 3 days. Go on to our Facebook page, The Adam Dunn Show, post on our wall, and then you're going to have to come down to the lab and pick up the tickets. That's kind of the only criterion factor.
Tough.
First person to post and come down gets the tickets. Speaking of coming down to the lab and getting things, last week we offered some CBD clones. We heard back from a lot of you, and it sounds like they could do a lot of good out there. Come down to the lab this Friday, 418. Is that?
Friday? Yes.
Friday. See, you could conceivably come down to the lab, get your CBD clones, put them somewhere safe,
grab a ticket,
grab your tickets, and take someone to this awesome show.
Wow. We got somebody. The beer guy wants those tickets now.
Beer
guy. Well, gotta give a bit more. What does beer guy have to do to get them? Right here, beer guy want those tickets.
Beer guy want those tickets. Adam, he's got a post on our Facebook. He's got to share the announcement for today's show is what he has to do.
Boom, Mr. Beer Guy, go share that now.
And then share it, and then post to our Facebook page, and come down to the lab and grab the tickets.
And pick a day.
Yeah, pick a day, 418, 419, or 420. We got a pair. There we go. Interactive radio. It's the future.
He says, I will be there shortly. He's on his way.
We're not there now.
Bam. Relax.
Yeah, we're not. We want. You
Hold
want to.
on.
You want to show up there probably around what time, Adam?
Friday. Or what time?
Well, around Friday. That
No,
time.
Friday about 1 o'clock because I got Ed Rosenthal live there. Me and Ed doing
There
a
you
seminar,
go.
so you can get 2 for 1. It's a twofer.
Twofer. Grab your tickets. Grab your clone. Blah blah.
Yeah, meet some masters and move on to the next. So, is your timer working?
Yeah. So we're gonna give Bike.
Look at your timer; it's working so good.
Yeah, Bike. You see this? I want to show you this cool thing. We have a timer. It's gonna count down our segment.
We actually know. Yeah, we're so pro.
So we're gonna
great
try
that it
calling
can-
Bo Johnson.
That's great that it can count down. Can we stick to it?
We're gonna try calling
trying
Bo
to.
Johnson
Hold on,
right
2,
now to start his
1.
segment.
2, 3.
Oh.
Boom.
Segment ended.
Segment. And
I'm not in charge of the phone. Oh,
So we
way
get
to
a
grow
snack?
commercial.
I see a fork.
No,
and a
we're getting
knife.
fed right now. Way to grow, getting fed.
there you go.
Way to grow.
Nice icon.
Way to grow,
So-
our number one sponsor out there. Been with us since the beginning. Oh man, someone's having a baby right now as we speak. Hold on. That was the official bat phone.
Yep.
Wow, this could be the change of the. This could be the change. Live on the air. Wow. Well, that would be interesting if that's the case. I may lose my. My guest host there. Come on now. This phone didn't ring. This is the phone right here.
That's the double backup emergency.
This is the actual.
pager
This is
doesn't
a
go.
real cell phone, by the way. This is not a prop. It looks like a prop.
We may
So-
be on a false flag alert here.
False flag. False
Maybe.
flag. Wouldn't be the first one. So the best time to pick up CBD clones would be the same time on Friday. I'll be there all day kind of on Friday, so that's the perfect day to come through the lab. Like I said, 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, we will be doing Ed Rosenthal live with me doing a seminar. And then if you happen to be cruising around on the tours, which how many people you got on a tour? Let's get you in on this because we got him out. So this is the perfect time to get Mr. Brown on here. So Matt, introduce yourself to all those people out there who don't know who you are because they haven't been paying attention somehow.
Hi. I am Matt Brown. Don't touch it.
Don't
I
touch.
won't touch. I can leave it alone.
False alarm, by the way.
Yes. Co-founder of My 420 Tours, the first marijuana legal tourism
I figured
company.
I'd jump him in because timing. I'm switching your timing around. Don't even mess around.
Did we get Bo?
No.
I don't know what happened.
There you go. See, so let's do it. Let's keep going on Matt. Let's do this. Let's do this because this is important.
Can we do
stuff.
Matt? Yeah, Matt. Why don't you intro yourself? Sorry.
He did. He
No
is.
worries.
Get
Sorry.
outta
It was
here.
a false alarm, guys. I'm not having a baby. I mean, I am, but
Your
not
water
right
is
now.
has
Not
not
at
broke.
this moment. So we launched My 420 Tours. World Cannabis Week is the big flagship event for that going on this week. Well over 100 people coming into town from all over the world for that.
Nice.
Obviously, thousands of people, concerts, all sorts of stuff going on around town. I also have had the opportunity in the last couple weeks to create a new company to spin off. We've got an awesome team at My 420. And Bike and I have been working on some projects. We've got really a business incubator. So we're also doing Denver Dab Hotel this weekend.
Nice.
Sponsored by D-Nail. And yeah, one of many things going on this weekend.
And I'm sure that those rooms sold out fast, right?
Yeah, do you have any rooms left?
I have a couple left. I have
Really?
to check. I got kind of a snarky email from the hotel this morning, but
They
I
don't
think I
like
have
being referred to as the Denver Dab Hotel.
no. I mean, we can't mention them, and part of the deal
I
is
see.
talking with them back in January with My 420 Tours of what can you say, what can't you. Last thing I want to do is piss off some hotel.
Of course.
Plain and simple. And
Sure.
we saw it last year at the Warwick, where Warwick has 40% of the smoking hotel rooms in the city of Denver, and very quickly they changed from we want you to $500 smoking fees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those things
But
happen.
we've
Well,
got, we've got
that-
like a couple rooms left, but for the most part we're there.
and I'm sure that's
yeah.
gonna the reality is, the simple fact that most people coming here, really are expecting to be treated, like normal people,
Right.
and not going through the same motions that they did in every
Exactly.
other place. So
no need to roll up a towel anymore.
Right. So if
Yeah.
that's the case, I think that it won't take long for the hotels that are being dicks about it to figure out that, hey, we're losing a lot of money here because, and that's, the only way to make people think sometimes is hit them in the wallet. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
I hope that the smaller hotels that adapt to this and figure it out are like, why would we want to have empty rooms when we can have this place packed with happy people that are actually, for such a simple thing. And really, at the end of the day, if your whole staff doesn't mind the smell of weed too much, what's
That's
the
the
problem
only
with that?
thing.
It's like,
You compare it to any of the big alcohol events we have here, like
Great American Beer Fest.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine being a hotel right down in the epicenter
Oh.
of Great American Beer Fest on that weekend
Yeah.
versus next to 420. Like
That's an
people are
interesting
tipping
segue.
nice, they're ordering food, they're hanging out and being friendly.
Sure.
Oh, their room service bills way over the
Through
top.
the roof.
Yeah, don't even want to get out of
Don't
bed.
wanna leave room,
Don't even want to get out of
exactly.
bed. Like, well, how much are we paying for this
Put
room?
out the picture menus.
They tip well.
and-
Stoners tip well.
Yeah.
Like
if they remember.
if
Right.
they
Yeah,
remember.
that's
You know, it's
usually-
just, it's
that's usually
about, you know, I like to say we had 1.1 million pot smoking tourists come to Denver in 2012, the year before we legalized pot. So, you know, that's our base that we started from this year, now that obviously the stores are open. About 15% of the adult population in Colorado smokes pot, and about 85% doesn't. So what we've done, I think, as a state is come up with a really good solution that the 15% of us that enjoy this plant and this product, for whatever reason, have the sort of normalcy that we do in every other facet of our life. And at the same time, we don't piss off the 85% of the population who chooses not to. And I think it's exactly the same with the hotels of, you know, I understand Marriott is smoke-free worldwide. That is a corporate policy, but thankfully they're opening up, they're talking to us, and there's a reality that we're good people. We have a lot of money to bring here, millions and millions of dollars of tourist revenue. And if you just shut it down and say, no, we don't want to try to talk to you and find a way to make this work, then
Yeah.
hotels are missing out.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is that we have sort of transferred our like the way that we think or perceive of smoking in general. It doesn't matter about cannabis. It's like just smoking. It's so on the outs everywhere in every way, shape, or form.
there's not really
Unless you're
places-
going to Asia.
Yeah.
We got a call in.
Oh, nice.
Hello there. Welcome to the Adam Dunn Show. Who are we talking to?
Yeah, this is Andy McIntyre from Maine. Adam was looking for me to call in on the show today, but I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties.
Oh, well, that's no problem. We're here live right as we speak, so might as well make it happen. What's going on there? This is Adam right here.
Oh, this is I'm talking to Adam right now?
You are talking to Adam right here live, and you're on the air, actually.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for having me on the show, Adam. I really appreciate it. I'm honored to be mentioned, and I'm really happy about the show last week, and at 2 cents, you putting the clones out there and telling everybody to share the love. You know, a lot of people back here in Maine and Rhode Island and Massachusetts were also they're trying to spread the high CBD plants that we have and trying to get them out to
Yeah, no, it's all,
growers.
that is sort of our mission right now too. It's like, the funny thing is that there's over the years, it's kind of like people go from one, like kind of flip flop. People go from strain hoarding to like, now I'm going to give the whole world the strain. You know what I mean? And neither, I'd say neither of them are really productive ways to think about it, because you obviously don't need to flood the world with the same strain so that everybody grows it crappy.
Not everyone wants it.
Yeah, and I also you know how it is. Like the minute, like so a lot of times with a lot of strains that I've done over the years, like I kind of limited the people that I would give it to, just because I knew that they were good growers and then they would represent me well. But then the minute it kind of like cat's out of the bag and other people got the clone and they started to pump it out really hard, they'd be like, "Wow, this doesn't taste so
Your
good."
weed sucks.
And then you're like, "No, it's not how it's done. They don't, they only grow for 8 weeks. It's actually a 10-week plant. So there's reasons why, you know what I mean? So that I definitely think that people who like flood the market kind of fuck it up for people sometimes. But I definitely think hoarding strains is the worst. Because,
But when it comes to CBD stuff, you kind of got to flip.
and then once the CBD part kicks in, it's about patience and it's about real, people that are down that need it. And I think the key is to get it out, like I said, to as many people as possible that are going to use it properly. You know what I mean? That's our key. We don't want people that are going to take it and think they got the, we've got the golden goose now.
If you go start a company where you're making some like, I don't know, thing, and we hear about you, we're going to be very upset.
But no, awesome. I'm glad to hear you're definitely down for the cause. And I mean, we got people right now. It's like literally, I think yesterday I had more people at the lab from Maine. Like half the people in my spot were from Maine yesterday. I was like,
Nice.
Man, what's going on in Maine today? No, all the growers are here. But yeah, it was all Maine and Seattle crew right in there yesterday. So give us a heads up on what else you guys are doing out there besides the CBD. How is the actual medical scene going for you?
It's really taken off in the last 6 months. I moved up from Massachusetts up to Maine about 2 years ago, and I grew since I was a child and ate the plant to help with my the pain in my eyes and the migraine headaches that I would get, and I'd also get the thing called myoclonic jerks, and I'd have seizures at night. So I was a really, really sick baby, and I had a great team of doctors that helped me out at Boston's General Hospital. when I was a child. And it didn't work out with the pharmaceuticals, and I went on to a diet that helped out really well. And then I started eating cannabis when I was 8 years old, and it wasn't like a miracle thing that happened like in 10 minutes, but in about an hour after first eating it, the headaches went away and I started to feel better. And I was like, at the time, I didn't even know what the plant was, and I just knew that this basil plant that I started to grow, as I thought it was, this plant, when I ate it, I'd feel better, and so I was actually really taken back when Josh Stanley came on TV with Charlotte, because Charlotte looks just like this little girl, Tracy, that died, and I lived, and she didn't respond to the Depakote, and so I'll always have a special place in my heart for Charlotte and Paige Figgy and Josh for bringing the story out there and kind of making me feel normal, because I've been laughed at since I was a child for eating marijuana, and with grow groups and things like that. When I hang out with my grower friends, I can't smoke it because that aggravates my seizure disorder. But if I eat it, it's like a miracle. So
now, do you have to eat it raw, or do you heat it to decarboxylate it, or you eat it raw?
I eat it raw. I've eaten it raw since a child. It's my preferred, even to this day. It's my preferred method. When I'm growing, I eat, especially like little popcorn buds. They're absolutely delicious to me. And there's like, for me personally, as an adult, it's it's the best way for me to do it. I don't have to get the dosage right or anything like that.
Right. Now, do you usually eat like the leaves or the buds or the whole plant? I think a lot of people could consider smoking or dabbing or eating extracts and things like that, but there's a lot to be said for the phytonutrients and the things that are still in the living plant. So I'm just curious to know, where that is for you.
It has to do with like a palatability. So like a male plant in veg before it has the flowers comes out, that's like really spicy and it doesn't really taste good. It's like really peppery. But if you have like a nice, if you have a female that's in veg and you eat that, it's like it's much nicer flavor. And my favorite thing to eat is like the little tiny popcorn buds at the bottom of the plant that don't have a lot of light. And those usually are more palatable. They're easier to chew up.
Less peppery.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get the pepper from the bud, just when you just try it for the hell of it, and not even like you're trying to get a big dose of it or something. But just even that, sometimes like, oh yeah, a little bite, and then all of a sudden you're like, damn, that was like serious.
You
pepper.
can't take a bite and it's
serious.
Your whole face is like, it's too much flavor.
Hey, do you mind if we bring in because we're about to call Bo Johnson, who's our CBD guy from here. Actually, he's out in Cali now.
Yeah,
but he had started out here, and we were going to bring him on. And you don't mind if we throw it around there?
Oh, that'd be great. No, because I've heard good things about Bo. It sounds like he's kind of like an endocannabinoid type of guy like I am, yeah.
Indeed, yeah. Let's bring him in.
He is an endocannabinoid kind of guy.
So Bo's kind of waiting. He's ready for our call.
Excellent, thank you.
Cool. Perfect segue, by the way, Todd. So there you go.
I wanted to ask Adam, did you finish the Way to Grow spot before?
Oh, we were right in the middle of the Way to Grow spot. Our number one sponsor. Yeah. But we'll come back to him.
We'll loop him back. Definitely check them out. They got their big dirt sale going on right now.
Dirt bags. What a bunch of dirt bags.
What a bunch of dirt bags.
The person you are trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet.
He probably doesn't. He's probably expecting my call. I'm talking to him right now, though. So why don't we do a Way to Grow spot in the next minute and a half?
Okay, so we're going to do a little spot here, Todd. So give us a minute. Way to Grow, our number one sponsor here in Colorado. They've been here 11 years. killing the game. They got 6 shops. Latest one is on South Platte River, 1051. It's a 20,000 square foot spot. They're having huge sale on dirt this month, and I think of a few other products too, because it is obviously the big 420.
It's going until May 1st, I believe.
And so we fully support them in all they do, and they have definitely some of the best prices, and they deliver anywhere in the state. So if you got no qualms about a big delivery truck coming to your spot. I think they kind of have 2. They have one that's a little stealth though, and they have one that says "Way to Grow" all over it. So probably make sure you have the stealth one.
I wonder if they charge more for the stealth, stealth delivery fee.
Extra charge for stealthness,
right?
But yeah, and the interesting part too is I know as a grower that going to the grow shop is one of the chores that we kills us, because as we go there, we think we're going there for one thing, and we come home with it's like going out, getting high, and going to get to King Super or something. You're going to come home with everything but the thing you actually went out there for. You're like, God, I just needed a 3/4 elbow. I ended up with a whole truckload of new food, and stuff like that. Yeah. So, and our other sponsor, Incredibles, the Incredible Edibles. Yes, no, they're getting it. Incredible Edibles. I'm going to put them on twice, because we're not talking to Bo yet. If you want the best in edibles for Colorado, by far the best. They've won Best in Westward this year. They're our favorite. I think everybody in this room pretty much. And Chris knows every flavor, but he'll tell us later.
He's going to get Bo on the phone. But I'll definitely tell you, Incredibles are, if you're coming to town for Denver, first, if you're coming down from Denver and you're a grower, maybe stop by Way to Grow and pick up some bulbs on the cheap before you go back home where they charge you 10 times as much, and just put them in your carry-on. That's legit. And secondly,
they love that when they see that. They're like,
yeah, bulbs are cool.
Bulb.
Dude, when Barrington Levy came out here, I'll say this. When I brought Barrington Levy out here
those bulbs,
for 420, he went out and bought a bunch of light bulbs and a chandelier that he couldn't get in Jamaica, and he brought them back to Jamaica.
There you
so
go.
That's like a legit thing.
All right,
and we're calling Bo Johnson.
Biggity bang.
Hey, Bo?
Hey.
Hey, what's going on, buddy? Mitch?
Man, that was a hard guy to get in touch with.
Sorry about all that, man.
You're live on the Adam Dunn Show, man.
Nice. What's going on, fellas?
And we got Todd McCormick on call-in, so we're all over the place here.
So, what you been doing, Bo? You been traveling around?
Running around like a madman. I'm currently out in Sonoma in wine country out in California, working on a project. Trying to get some CBD and stuff together for patients, but mostly just working on shatter and pills and things like that for now until I can get my hands on the material.
Nice. Do you know people up there, Bo?
Yeah, I've got some people out here that I'm working with, and it's a relatively small industry. There's not a whole lot of us involved in it, especially in the CBD side. So it's not too tough to find the people that are involved. So.
For sure. Well, let's kind of dive right into it and at least give your intro and talk about your history. How did you get started working with CBD?
I moved to Denver about 3.5 years ago now to get access to medical cannabis for myself. I had a condition that was essentially stopping my body from processing protein. So I basically had wasting syndrome from it. I couldn't eat. If I did eat, it felt like someone was kicking me in the stomach. I had extremely brutal heartburn every night of my life. It would wake me up out of a dead sleep. So I actually moved to Denver to have access to the medicine for myself because I had gone out there to visit, met Adam and a whole bunch of other people while I was out there, and got
Bo, you're breaking up a little bit, bud. We don't want to lose you because this is really good information for people.
Step outside here.
Cool, perfect.
It's always tough when you're working in the lab or you're in the room, and usually whenever I'm talking to somebody, they're like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm just standing by like 19 ventilators right now." Like, can't hear nothing,
Yeah. It's better that I stand outside in the Cali sun anyway. It's a beautiful day out here.
Enjoy. Get a little vitamin D while you're at it.
So you came out, you said like 3.5 years ago to Denver just to find medicine for yourself is where it started.
Yeah, I came out there to visit for the KushCon, and that's when I met Adam and Derek and Tim from John Doe Radio, Paul Token, all those guys, and they just really opened my eyes to medicine and concentrate specifically and what it could do for people and what it was already doing for people there. So I went back home, ran out of a little bit of stuff that I brought back with me, and within a week, my condition started to deteriorate, almost by the hour. Like it was really bad. So I picked up everything. I decided to move out there, and luckily fell into the opportunity to make concentrates for a living for other people. And then
how did that come about? Because I think it's an interesting thing. I know a lot of people listen, and we do have a lot of in-state listeners, who live the Colorado life, but we also have a lot of people just out there around the country or around the world looking at us from afar, and this is their window into like, how does one come out here and do it? So we do like to always cover sort of the origin stories there.
Honestly, I can attribute that to one person. I call it the Token Daily button. I was lucky enough to become friends with Paul Token whenever I moved out there, and like I said, I moved to get the medicine for myself. So the first thing that I did whenever I got to Colorado was I bought a quarter-pound of Super Lemon Haze. It's the first strain I ever ran out there, and on the balcony of my apartment, with a little 7-gram glass tube, I made a gram at a time for myself. And I went over to Paul's house, and it was just this beautiful reek of lemons, orange or yellow concentrate. And he was like, "Yeah, you didn't come here to make video games or whatever your original plan was. You came here to make concentrates." So I pretty much just took that and ran with it. Started going to every event. I made sure to to shake every single hand that I could, introduce myself to everybody that I could, and just focus on the patients. Focus on what really matters. And I've said it for a long time. In this industry, if you care, then people will care. If you show that you have the passion, if you show that you have the love for the patients, then people will respond to that, and you'll be able to make your way in it. But with so many people, if you're only out for the money or if you're only out for yourself, then you're not going to be around for very long, because people can see that in this industry.
Totally true. I mean, people stick around for a year or two, but then they get the true intentions usually get revealed. And it stops being so lush. Everyone expects it to be all. If you're in it for the money, you're going to be disappointed at some points. If you're just in it for the love of the plant, it'll never let you down.
Well, you should have been there. You should have been there around 93, 94 if you wanted to make money, I guess. But if you're trying to make money now, it's probably not going to happen that quickly. It can happen, but it's definitely you need to have the right. Right now, it's really all about everything lining up perfectly. Like if you don't have all your ducats lined up in a row, you're probably not going to make it. Just because there is some fierce competition out there in the cannabis world, and it's only getting more and more. One of the things too, also with the CBDs, what I've noticed is it's a game changer, just like in 1995 when Prop 215 kicked in, and it was like, wow, really, I think we've kind of got the silver bullet here, and with the whole CBD and kids and the fact that we're trying to do two things at the same time that don't make any sense. We're trying to protect the kids from something that's actually helping them out. So okay, this is going to unravel itself pretty fast, I think, just because of the reality that if anybody looks at this with half a brain almost, you'd be like, well, this needs to be addressed. I mean, we can't run around pretending that one day it's harmful and the next day it's the most helpful thing on the planet. So, but that's just the way these things. And the cool thing about cannabis, I think in general, is all this stuff is going to get. It's kind of like when the first time you make bubble hash, or you figure out that it doesn't matter what the plant looks like. It's about what's in the plant. So at the end of the day, it all comes out in the wash, and you can't hide it once it's been washed. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of what the information is right now. We're just in that point where it's all in the washing machine and it's getting washed up, and that's about to come out, and we're going to come out clean, I hope, because the reality is unless we're all completely off base and none of us are doing the right thing and we're all chasing the wrong fucking dream, which I don't think so. It'd be pretty hard that millions of people are chasing the wrong dream. If that's the case, then okay, well, we're wrong and we'll go back to the way it was, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think we've already cat's out of the bag.
Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, I don't see that being possible. I think that from everything that I've seen, everything that we've seen in the last few years in Colorado and what else is coming through with the rest of the country and legalization, all the CBD information coming out. I mean, I have family members in Louisiana. I was the black sheep my entire life because I was a stoner and I was the one that was always in trouble with the cops and everything because of weed and all this stuff. And now, they're sharing posts about, CBD and about cannabis and about all this other stuff on their Facebooks. And it's like, wait a minute, what the hell happened to my family? It's like, I was the one doing that and y'all were all yelling at me for it, So I think that we're in the process of seeing a major shift in this country and in the world, really, just because of CBD and because of the kids and because of everything that's coming about from it. You can't deny whenever you put a patient in front of somebody, especially the kids.
It's crazy how like dramatic it can be, the power that cannabis can have to settle a condition. You know, I remember the first time I saw someone with like MS smoke cannabis and just better. Like they were better in front of my eyes, like, and not like progressively over time, like you take a pill and it kicks in over a couple hours. Like I saw it like boom, transform.
Yeah, no, you take one hit and you're good. Like it's just there. I mean.
Yeah, like Todd, you were one of the probably, I mean, definitely one of the pioneers in this whole medical aspect as far as telling people about what happens. You know what I mean? And like, I think when we first met, it was 1993, right, Todd? Todd,
do we have him on the line?
Ooh, is he still there? No.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry. No, I was gonna say you were like a pioneer back in the day with using medical cannabis, and I mean, other people obviously did it, but I'm saying talking about it because that's part of the deal is just telling people what the, you know, how this works. And it's interesting because like yesterday I had a classic. I was at a Safeway, and the guy who was collecting all the carts, you know, he came over to me and he's like, "Oh, you guys having a party?" Because I was throwing all these sodas and things in the back of the car, and I was like, "Yeah, well, sort of." And he's like, "What kind of party?" I was like, you know, weed, you know. And he's like, "Oh, I've never touched that stuff. Never will. Never have. Never will." And I was like, looking at him like, "You need to, first of all, because you know, you're like he had a little twitch in his eye, and he was kind of like, you know." And then I told him in a really short, like 2-minute blast, I told him everything he needed to know, and I think I may have changed his mind because he was just like, "Really? It's not bad for you?" I was like, "Oh, come on, dude. It's exact opposite of bad for you. You know, like just people don't get it, and that's the thing is they're, you know, scared of this thing, and it's like that. To see that it's interesting. I love to change people's opinion though once in a while.
And now like people are so open to the discussion. You were gonna say something, Matt?
I was going to say that I love being here in Colorado because it's amazed me in 5 years of being fairly vocal about the issue. Nobody has ever come to me with the sort of worst case response that I'm always expecting of like, "You're a horrible person and how dare you," and I'm calling the cops immediately. That fictionalization we have of like what happens and still does happen in many other parts of the country. That what I love here more than anything is that no matter where you fall on the issue today or yesterday or 6 months ago, Colorado is a place where people actually talk about it. And back to that 85-15, like we had a lot more people here who don't smoke pot who finally just started talking kind of across the fence saying, "Well, what do you think?" And it doesn't take too long of somebody saying "Oh, you know, it's going to kill the children and society's falling apart." Like we all have a phone now that can fact check any of this crap that we couldn't do when I was in Just Say No as a kid.
Sure.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yep. Thanks. So, Bo, let's bring it back to you. Thankfully, we have you on the phone again. So you got here. Had you done chemistry before? Had you made extracts before, or you just were making this oil 1 gram at a time for yourself on your balcony?
Yeah, I just started out making it 1 gram at a time for myself, and then I fell in with River Rock and all of those guys, and essentially was given 100 pounds of trim and $100 for a budget, and stuck back in the corner in the back of the building and said, "Go figure it out." So I did. I went in there every day and tried things and tweaked stuff and played around with it, and just focused on small batches and perfecting a process. And eventually I started doing the vacuum purge process, which that actually does come from my past a little bit. I'm originally trained as an air conditioning and refrigeration mechanic. That's what I did in Louisiana before I left to go back to school.
All right.
So Freon is very similar in its temporal properties to butane. So its boiling temperature, its liquid temperature, and all those things are very close to the same thing. So whenever I was dealing with butane, I started to look at it kind of in the same way that I used to look at Freon, and decided that I could use a vacuum purge system to get the butane out faster than I could just using a hot plate trying to make butter. So I played around with that process. I got a really strong vacuum pump and started playing around with those things, and eventually came out with what most people in Denver know as the rock butter, the powder that I made, and just ran with it from there. And then we got lucky enough to get our hands on our sour tsunami seeds.
So
And
you weren't
we were
focused
able
on
to pop
CBD
some of
till
those.
that point. You were just focused on oil. Is that?
Yeah, we
is
were
that
just focused on flavors and THC, and I was just working on perfecting a process at that point. That was my only goal. One of our guys came in with the sour tsunami seeds. We popped them. We ran them out in the garden and everything, and we had 2 phenos that came out that were around a 2-to-1 ratio of CBD to THC, around 16% CBD and around the 8% mark or 6% mark of THC. And the trim came through my lab just like everything else, so I ran it, and it was completely different than anything I had ever run before. THC for me turns into a powder and it ends up stable. It may turn into a shatter at some point, but that's about as much as it'll do. This CBD stuff was straight oil, and nothing I could ever do to it could get it to stop being an oil. It was, just completely, beautiful and perfect and gold, and I couldn't stabilize it for the life of me. We got it tested. It was over 60% CBD.
Wow. Can we put that in perspective for people? Like the Charlotte's Web, if you were to say like the raw flower of the Charlotte's Web, what percentage CBD would that be by weight?
I want to say probably around the 15 to 20 mark,
So
probably around the same as our sour tsunami. But the thing about the Charlotte's Web is it has very, very low THC.
Right.
So it's more of like a 5-to-1 ratio or 8-to-1 ratio, something like that. Whereas our sour tsunami and most of the strains that I work with are usually like a 2-to-1, or I think the highest ratio that I work with is a 4-to-1, which works extremely well for cancer patients. But to see a concentrate come out at 90% total cannabinoids and 60% of that is CBD, 2.5 years ago, nobody had seen that before. Nobody had that.
We never really saw more than the trace amount of CBD, really.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about 5 to 10%, something like that, at the very, very most for concentrates, even much less for flowers. And we were dealing with a flower that was at 15% CBD.
Yeah, we were pretty effective at getting rid of CBD over the years. That's what we were. Our main goal in life as breeders was to not have CBDs in our strains, without even knowing what we were talking. I mean, not even knowing it was CBD. Just and the funny part too, like we just did some nug runs, and literally because it was a mix between a few different strains, there could have been some Harlequin in there or whatever. But just when you identify that CBD kind of flavor, you get like tuned in on it, and it's really obvious. Like, and so now, I can hand this to somebody else who gets kind of tuned in on it, and they're like, "Oh, I taste CBD in there," and it's just like it's weird because even 2 years ago, none of us, I don't think I could even taste it. You know what I mean? I was like, I wasn't aware of this whole cherry flavor that's there, that exists in nature. That's the like Mitch was saying. It's sort of like, something happened here. There's some reason why this flavor is considered medicine. You know what I mean? When there's no cherry cure out there that I know of. Like, oh, eat a bunch of cherries. And well, yeah, but
we have that
artificial
flavor in medicine. Like there's cherry cough drops and cherry cough syrup. Why did that start?
Yeah, because who the hell was thinking cherries make you better?
But it was
obviously it's
back
sweet.
in the day.
I always thought because of the sweet side, it's sweet, makes it sweet. But the reality is, once you hit that CBD oil and got that cherry, like yesterday, I hit it with a bunch of people, and it wasn't pure CBD. It just had a little bit in there, and right away people were like, "Halls, I taste it." Halls. So it's like, okay, if we can start to narrow that down, I think we're going to actually go somewhere.
It's not the only one, though, because the sour tsunami always tastes like Chinese food to me.
Oh, really? So there's another flavor.
Smell as well.
Yeah.
But what does your oil taste more like, cherries or Chinese food when you're done with it?
Most of them end up with that kind of that cherry menthol flavor. Our original sour tsunami was a complete fluke, actually. It honestly smelled like dog crap.
Well,
that's like Chinese food.
One person's dog crap is another person's Chinese food.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Pretty much. I guess that's the Chinese food side. Like it literally, like it was borderline offensive. We almost didn't run it. We almost didn't smoke it. But we ran it and got it tested, and we're just blown away by it. And then we also made some cold run tincture from it. That
and what's the process for that?
Products that we were making from the extractions had the same ratio. It had that same 2-to-1 CBD to THC ratio in whatever concentration.
Do you think the cold extraction though doesn't really get it activated enough, or what do you think about that?
Well, there's some interesting things going on with that. Whenever you're dealing with CBD strains, in my personal experience, an ice water extraction, where you're collecting trichomes or dry sift or something like that, you're not going to get as much of the CBD out as you would from either, whenever I talk about the cold tincture extraction, I'm talking about like an agave or a glycerin extraction, or an actual solvent extraction where you're using those liquids to actually get into the plant material and get the oil out of the plant material. With a high THC strain, most of the THC resides in the trichome heads, as we know. For high CBD, what I've found is that it's mostly inside of the actual leaf and the plant matter. So if you're doing an ice water extraction, you're not going to be able to get in there and get that oil out of the plant leaves as you would with a butane extraction. I find that the yields are a lot higher, and you get a better ratio with a solvent extraction with that.
With all the different cannabinoids, CBD, THC, with any of them, you said earlier that you noticed how the first time you ran the CBD runs, the finished product just had a different consistency than regular THC oil, and some of that has to do with the way the trichome glandular heads are. They are shaped differently. They have different oil properties. I go back, a lot of this wasn't possible 5 years ago because we didn't have lab testing. And not to say that you have to test every single nug that you sell in a store, but when it comes time to start figuring out, where's the medicine, where are the CBD strains, where's the product that doesn't get me high, but really fixes what ails me.
Well, yeah, we could never
so fast.
I mean, the one thing that was, as a breeder, what we always were looking at is, how many trikes are on this plant, or how much it sets itself up. But we're always looking externally on the plant. We're obviously not seeing through the plant and going, it's loaded with CBDs in there. I can see it all flowing around the plant. I wish I had that sense. But with testing, it gives us an ability to cross-reference maybe what you because like for instance that Harlequin strain that I got from Bill. His story was that the guy in California that developed it or whatever, that he just walked past this plant every single day and the plant talked to him and told him like, hey, I'm over here, hey. And he just knew that this thing was special.
I've met that guy. I heard that story.
Right, exactly. And so the reality is, I believe it too because, there is that that is the whole thing about cannabis in general is it's tricking us into growing it. It's a smarter thing than we think it is, smarter plant than we thought because the reality is it's like, the reason it's so prevalent is because it forces us to go out and buy a bunch of equipment and go, it's pretty much.
Yeah, we'd just be a weed on the side of the road.
We are
like a fucking queen.
Well, we're true servants.
We kill ourselves for this plant.
We're true servants to the plant. You know what I mean? Like that's so in a funny way. Like if you think of it as an alien being, it has already dominated our world. You know what I mean? It's already come here, enslaved the population,
enslaved 15% of the people of Colorado.
We're all enslaved. You know what I mean? It's enslaved to wake up every day and take care of this thing, and there's not like and again, like I was saying earlier about the medicine, it's like we do this totally voluntarily. So it's like interesting because when you do stuff voluntarily like that, then there's no like I'll skip it today. You know what I mean? You just don't do it. That's how it works. That plant it cannot be skipped. You know what I mean? And people do.
No, this is our life.
Yeah, and people do that, but they're not dedicated, and they're not going to survive in the industry as long enough. So I think that's kind of one of the that's my little sideline. We're all enslaved, by the way.
Well, but slavery is a lot like love. We might all be in love. We could look at it that way too. But sure, enslaved to.
I don't know. Yeah,
prisoner's dilemma.
This is obviously your own personal thing, right?
No. I'm just saying we could be in love with this plant and just doing it voluntarily. So, Bo, let's bring it back to CBD extractions. So, you were working for River Rock, blasted the sour tsunami, tested high, and you were talking about ratios, and I think that's definitely something that I've talked to a lot of people who say CBD and know what plants have CBD and have plants that have high CBD. But what really stuck out to me about you is that you understand the ratios, you understand how to treat ailments with CBD, and understand that it's more than just CBD.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say that I understand it, because I still have no idea what's going on. I'm still trying to piece it all together, and we're still barely scratching the surface with this medicine, especially with CBD, just because, like you guys said, we've been breeding it out for decades. So we're just now in the last few years starting to get this research. And, luckily I've had people in my life that are like, no, you're wrong. This is actually going to do this, and no matter what you say, I'm going to go ahead and give it to these people, and it's going to work. The first time that I made the CBD oil, I brought it to the Hood Lab, and hanging out with everybody, let a few people try it, and talking to Jenny and Jeremy, they were just blown away by it. The next couple of days, Jenny and Jeremy both come into the shop, and obviously everybody knows the story of Jenny. She's been a very huge influence for all of us, and for me especially, because they came in, they bought that tincture with their own money, and went and gave it to a kid with epilepsy, within a few days of me making the first products. And it wasn't a pure CBD. There was THC in there. And as far as I'm concerned, CBD does get you high. Everybody tries to go on TV and say, oh, it's the medicine, it doesn't get you high, blah, blah, blah. You take a handful of CBD oil, and you're not going to be able to move.
Yeah,
if you've ever taken too many muscle relaxers, it's a very similar sensation. It's a very uncomfortable relaxation. You can get too high on this stuff.
I had somebody actually take a photo of me one time because it was like the first time I tried. Like somebody gave me CBD. Here's CBD, try it. And I just like railed through it, and I was like, it was in Spain, and then next morning they like pulled out their phone and they're like, hey. We've got a new cover for High Times, right? And I was like, what are you talking about? And it was like me passed out and like exactly sitting where I was. Like I sat there, took a couple big hits, and just like literally passed out. I was like, it was kind of a tough day. It was during Spanibus, so it was one of those. It was a long day and everything, but still, it was definitely like, wow. I guess it did kind of creep up on me within about 5 seconds. It was like really fast. It was like boom, down. So yeah. It definitely works in its own way. It's not necessarily the hitting the same pleasure spots that we always are associating cannabis with. So I think I think when you need it, that's the really cool part. Like, we have a friend of ours who she was on lots of medication, and now she's sort of taking care of herself with as much CBD stuff as possible. And like my mom hadn't seen her for about 6 months. And because she was so used to like all these sort of weird movements and stuff, because she was always in kind of because MS kind of situation, and then now seeing her like totally calm, didn't even recognize her. It was like, oh, hey, does that girl need something to eat? And I was like, that's Karma, that's our friend. And she's like, really? Huh? I didn't even recognize her. So I think that's part of the whole deal is like when you need it, it's just being normal. It's not like you're going to get an effect beyond that good normal feeling. And then if you're not necessarily needing it, you may like I don't really maybe need that much CBD, so when I take it in, I just kind of pass out from it. It's like a little overload, So yeah, it's interesting to see.
Something I just heard recently is that the way THCA and CBD work together, whereas if you juice some raw cannabis, your body is able to absorb more of the CBD.
Okay, that's cool.
The most marijuana-like Adderall experience in my life was THC acid from Full Spectrum Labs, and they were just trying out different formulations. Mm-hmm. Two of the other guys who were there with us who tried it, like I was the lab monkey for a couple of years, trying like crazy new concoctions, and two of the guys there that owned a dispensary that smoked as much as all of us combined, same thing as you, like just knocked them out, done. Yeah. And I think I went home and cleaned my house and knocked out 3 hours of work and like just fired away. And,
right. Yeah. No, exactly. And that's been
THC acid is a fascinating compound. I've dealt with it a lot with the rock butter process because my powder is completely inactive. I don't use any heat throughout the entire process. And in fact, if the room that we're working in gets over 65 degrees, we leave for the day. So all of my stuff is inactive, all of my powders and all of my cannabinoids. So there's certain strains, like the Blackberry Kush specifically is a pure THCA strain. There's almost no terpenes to it. There's definitely no other minor cannabinoids. And you sit there and you smoke, we're all heads. You sit down and smoke a 1/4 gram or a 1/2 gram of that stuff, and it's borderline psychedelic. It's almost a lucid experience. Oh, yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Right. Yeah, like you're saying earlier, when it gets to that, it almost gets uncomfortable certain periods, just because people. It's like when you quit for a week, go on holiday or something like that, and you go somewhere you can't smoke, come back home. That first hit, you're literally almost uncomfortable from. You get that little sweaty palms, or like that haze kind of thing when you smoke a good haze, and you just get that like wow. Heart almost like you feel like you're almost like this can't be good. High. This can't be good.
High school high.
We have Mila coming in.
Wow, we
Cool.
have Mila in the studio.
Let's let Matt give us a quick last-minute thing before we...
Yeah, Bo, if you
'cause
can hang on a sec, we do want to come back to you while we have Mila in the studio as well, if that's cool.
Of course.
Nice, yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
cool.
So just want to give it, because in the very beginning when we first started, we actually had Matt going on talking about his week-long. Didn't kind of cut him short, so I just want to give you a quick one there, because I know once Mila's here too, it's gonna go off, and we're gonna be chatting till the last second probably.
Well, I will keep it simple. My420tours.com, World Cannabis Week. One wristband gets you access to everything. McLovin, actually, if you're in town, McLovin from Superbad is playing tonight along with Too Short. Every single night this week. You guys know the concert schedule better even than I do, but
Yeah.
My420tours.com. Denver Dab Hotel is sold out, but we are going to be working this weekend to get it ready for 710 Cup to really be ready to hit that. And Sprout House, Bike is going to be working with me. You're going to hear a lot more about that, but specifically a business incubator, just promoting innovation in cannabis. All of the things that we've been talking about today, doing whatever we can to help make Denver the place like Silicon Valley where people come to invent cool shit to save the world. So with
Nice.
that, I will pass it over.
Nice one, thank you. So in the studio we have Mila, the world famous Mila Janssen, yes, and luckily during this whole week we have so many people in. I mean, later there's so many people in town. It's going to be. I wish I could have a show every single day this week just because of that. But then again, I wouldn't be able to go do my stuff down there.
Yeah,
but we have Mila in. She's going to be doing the Dabadoo, which we've renamed Labadoo. I mean, we love to rename stuff, but if it rhymes, I'm renaming it. I'm sorry, it's the way it is. But we're having the Dabadoo tomorrow, which is this your how many have you had now? This is the third one or fourth one?
Yeah, it's the third one.
Third one, yeah. So we can still count on one hand, but
Yeah.
it's not the 21st like the cup was. But and actually we have in the studio, even though she's not all mic'd up and stuff, we have Annie Rican, who was instrumental with the Cannabis Cup back in the day in taking it to the next level.
After you invented it.
Yeah, of course. Well, of course I invented it, but no, I didn't actually. Steve invented it. I made it better, and then Annie made it actually professional, I'd say. I just made it more fun, but she brought the professional edge into it, made it into a real event. And so she's back here to check it all out 20 years later. It's very nice to see how your child has grown over the years, right? Like, well, now my child is 56,000 people compared to how many people did we have when we did it that year?
1,500, 1,200?
Something like that. Yeah, and that was in 1985, right? 6? I did 93. And then
I kind of helped in 94, and I pretty much took it over in 95.
There you go. 95 was the big thing. And that was actually what I tell people the best years of the Cannabis Cup, just because the vibe of the town was so good, and everybody.
There was hemp stuff at the cup too. There was all the uses.
It was very hemp orientated. We had a little renaissance. I mean, like right now, it's sort of the second wave. Well, maybe I don't know, the second, third, fifth wave. But we're actually, we every so often, maybe probably every 7 to 8 years, there's a big moment where we think this is it. It's going down. This is it.
Yes.
And like in Holland, we had hemp growing, and we had people flying in from all over the world. But their whole tourism thing kind of also was a problem. Sure. The problem was that the Dutch didn't really embrace it the way that they do here, because most of the people were American that came over there in the first place. And then I blame it all on the euro, because the euro kicked in, killed the money, and then now no Americans can afford to go to Holland because the prices there are about 14 to 17 euros a gram for cannabis. I mean, and you're talking over $20 a gram.
And now there's new laws going to be enforced, apparently.
For the percentages.
No product can be in the coffee shop over 15%.
Which makes absolutely zero sense whatsoever.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It's like, okay, guys.
Encouraging people to smoke more swag.
Yeah, smoke more swag and harm yourself a little further down the road, and put some tobacco in there while you're at it.
And forget
As
about
a concentrate maker, it makes
concentrates.
me want to put my head through a wall, because that's completely counterintuitive.
It is, isn't it? I mean, it's also like the idea. I was talking yesterday with people from Seattle, and I was like, yeah, what's up with the fish oil? And you heard about that, right, Bo?
No.
They have to put fish oil back in with the concentrate so that you can't.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. Do you know this story?
I heard they had to adulterate it with another oil. I didn't hear it had to be fish oil.
Well, it
I
had
heard
to be
could
another
like vegetable
some other
glycerin or something like that, so you could make a tincture.
So you can't.
Fish
Or
oil is the most
propylene glycol
disgusting.
or something. Let's put fog juice in. And concentrated fog juice. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
It seemed like vape pen lobby big time.
Yeah, that seems pretty strange, right? So
it makes me want to throw up.
So you ever met Bo before?
I think we did.
You guys met Mila last time she was here, I think, didn't you?
Yeah.
You did.
You were here
Okay.
for the 710 Cup?
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it was briefly, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those. It's so you meet so many people when you're here for such a short. I mean, it must be overwhelming for you, Mila, sometimes.
Yeah.
Because
I hope to maybe see you again tomorrow night at the Dabadoo.
No, he's in Cali.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to make it back this weekend. I got too much work to do, so.
Well, we're going to have one in San Francisco on the 20th of June, and Dabadoo party.
Oh, nice.
I will be there for that one because I'm actually living in Santa Rosa now, so I'm
Nice.
going to be right around the way.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, no, it's slowly but surely coming our way. I mean, that's the one thing is like I lived there for 20 plus years, and I thought I was trapped forever on this I'm trapped on Cannabis Island. You know, I can't get off. And then the reality was the rest of the world opened up, and now there's not even that much good cannabis left in Amsterdam. I was like pretty. Every time I talk to somebody, it sounds more and more crazy. I mean, is it?
Yeah.
Are you feeling the pressure there pretty much? How come you haven't moved to Spain yet? I'm surprised you haven't just said forget about it and go down to Spain like everyone else.
I got my granddaughter living in Holland.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's it. Family always, right?
Yeah, and a few sons.
But you're down to Spain a lot for the events and stuff. Are you going down there checking? I mean, it must be for you. It must be awesome because the whole thing about making hash is you have to have the first thing you have to have is a lot of cannabis, right? There's no point of getting into hash if you have one plant, right?
Preferably the genetics should be good.
Oh yeah, well genetics
That's
obviously are super
line.
important, but I think one of the things and that's where I felt like I was in a real special place when I was in Amsterdam was that to have access to large amounts of cannabis and the time to be able to play with it, which is sometimes people don't realize that it's a lot of time consuming stuff.
Yeah.
And so whenever I was back in the CIA, I remember making hash and I'd like sit there and think about, man, I'm one of the very few people out there doing this because there wasn't that many. It was kind of like a very, nobody wanted to do the work. You know, I was like, this is grind work. And so I was there making my stuff and I never quite anticipated that it would turn into like what would be, I mean, I already knew it was an art form, but I never thought it would be considered an art form. And I would never think that there'd be a complete shift in America where everybody would become concentrate and hash crazy, but it's happened, which is super cool. But at the same time, I think they don't understand here, and I've said this on the show a bunch of times, I don't think that they don't really understand hash here yet. They think they do because they've got these awesome concentrates, but they forgot that there's a whole huge history of hash making. And part of that was, I mean, I think that what people don't experience here, and we talked about it last week too, was that the product never sits around long enough to be judged as what it really should be judged, especially like, you know, when you do a cannabis cup, for instance, and you're getting a product that was made on Tuesday and you're smoking it on Friday. And
still tastes like weed.
It's like cooking. It's like going to a cooking thing and going to a contest and eating a cake that's still warm. It's not really the way you do it. You know, you'd have to, that cake should be cooled down, frosted properly, taken care of. But if you just go in, of course it's going to taste great when it's really warm because it's like, wow, this tastes great. Yeah. But then if you came back the next day and it was all hard and weird and it didn't have the right texture, well, that's actually the product that's the way it would be sold to the person after it sits on the shelf. So that's my biggest gripe about the whole industry in general is that they don't understand concentrates yet. They haven't done their homework because not enough people have dry sieved. And I think that's where the best hash comes from. And
in Spain, even the dry sift won the non-solvent category.
Yeah, and I think it's also the full plant profile that you get, you know, which is super interesting because that's what's kind of difficult with any solvent is when you put a solvent in, you're probably going to you're not getting a full plant. No matter how you look at it, you're still going to get things are going to get destroyed along the process, and then you're going to end up with a narrower profile. What do you think about that, Bo? Is that sort of correct? Do you think, or?
To an extent, the closest to whole plant that I personally can get to is just pulling the fan leaves, stripping it off of the stem, and just running bud and leaf together untrimmed. It seems to give a really nice cannabinoid profile and terpene profile. But yeah, there's definitely And it also depends on the solvent that you're using.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
People always
It's
talk
huge.
about, you know, vector versus entane versus, you know, propane versus all these other things.
I thought we were talking about dry sift.
You got to understand, you know, these solvents have different polarities. They're going to have different attraction.
Right.
Yeah.
Different attractions to these different molecules. So some things are going to be more selective, some things are going to be less selective. So it's all in finding the right solvent, the right strains with the right combination of terpenes and everything to get the best pull.
For sure, for sure. Well, now we're going back to dry sieve, by the way.
Yeah, we have to give the medical information for the patients, but let's talk about.
And the reason we even bring it up is because of you're not going to you're going to have a hard time finding it. If you come to Colorado to find good dry sieve,
no one's doing it.
You're not going to find it just because your yields are lower. That's one thing that people tend to go towards is yield. So of course, when you're extracting with a solvent and getting a higher yield, you're getting up to 20-25% sometimes. Yeah, of course, people go for that. Whereas with dry sieve, maybe 8 to 12%, and of that 8 to 12%, you probably only want to smoke the first 3%. That's how I always looked at it. I was like, I'm a top 3%er, and then the rest, you know, that's for the masses.
I've always looked at dry stuff like that. It's pretty much just head stash, and that's the only way you're going to find it if somebody's making it for the head.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So that's where those. I mean, and that is but interestingly enough, back in the day, that's all there was. There was no water hash. There was no extracts. It was all dry sieve. So the amount of work that went into it was amazing. Like just whole villages working on a project, and you know, and
for months.
Yeah, for months, and then it going from that village making its way all around the world. And so that's where my gripe is that you could never, like, that village would have never survived if it was trying to do water hash or doing any kind of solvents, because they would have got it to the next guy who would have got it to the next guy who would have been pissed off.
It wouldn't be stable.
He would be like, hey, what is this crap? I didn't pay for this. You know what I mean? And that's where it kind of like, that's where I think in the long term we need to kind of get back to basics, learn the basics, and then we're going to have a more stable product, because people will know, oh, that's what we're talking about, a stable product. That because I don't think they really exist at this point. They do to a point. There's good runs, of course,
right,
but rarely do I find. I mean, I've loved.
It's like when you go to get soda. You know, if you drink soda at the restaurant and sometimes they don't have enough syrup in the fountain, and you're like, oh, the formula's messed up, and then you're just like, oh,
that's it.
You know,
life's
and
ruined.
But it's that sort of consistency that we don't have. You know?
Sure, and I think the key is that, like for instance with water hash, the same problem. That was the first thing I thought of when, and that's what Rob complained about too. When we first made he was like, that's it. It's the end of good weed, because people don't. Good hash, because people don't realize that they're going to how to store it, and you know he brought that up to me with water, and it made sense because especially in Holland, because they're so hard to get the water out. Yeah. Here exactly we can get, here we can actually dry too good. That's our problem. We have to figure out how to moisturize it again, get some humidity back into it. But in general, it's almost impossible to ever get it out to the point where you really feel comfortable like that's going to last for 10 years, plus water or anything, I think.
I remember in Afghanistan, the Afghani people, they sift it and then they store it in big clay jars and seal them off with beeswax. And I've smoked hash out of that when I was like 8-9 years old. And the experience was that if you have a younger hash, you get the high much faster and it comes away much faster. Mm-hmm. But if it's that old and it's been kept well, it comes on much slower and lasts much longer.
Sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of that would be conversion from CBD. We had a call, but we missed them. That would be a lot of conversion over CBD from THC and conversions within from
THCA to Delta 9 THC.
Exactly. And then those are the hard to replicate situations, because if a product moved from one country to another via 5 others in all different temperatures and all different conditions, that's when you need a super stable product that's going to be long lasting, and that's why that naturally it has its own built-in way to preserve itself. And that's what's awesome about hash in general, is like if you make dry sieve, you should just keep it around loose, and then when you want to press it, you press it, and then it's pretty much going. It's active. You've activated it just with a little bit of warmth in your hand and pressing it, or however you pressed it, and put a little bit of heat on it. And once it's going, and that's the point, is you really got to, it's still much more preserved than other stuff, but it's still actually changing. It's slowly changing over time,
These Afghans will take out these Afghans will take out just enough what they want to smoke in the next couple of weeks, and then they'll beat it with mallets. And when I was there in '68, there was a big discussion whether a wooden mallet or a rubber mallet worked better on this.
What was it? And what was the answer?
I don't know. They were still talking about it. Actually, years later in Delhi, they were also still talking about it.
Yeah, no, there you go. The controversy never ends. Yeah. It's like the hydro bio controversy over here. Like every time you go to a trade show, it's always the big bio versus hydro. It's like, has this not been dealt with yet? Have we not talked about this 1,000 times over? No, but and so are you judging also for the Cannabis Cup too?
No, I don't know. I think I wasn't here long enough. I don't know.
Right.
Anyway, I'm busy with this.
Yeah, you might get a little sidetracked. There was an amazing amount. I mean, I saw the
tested some of the things.
I saw they had 53 concentrate in the concentrate. Wow. But they have 2 categories too. They have medical and rec.
Yeah, I saw that.
So we're talking like almost 100.
I heard a story about someone went to enter something in the rec category, and someone who was entered in the medical category saw that going down and was like, "Oh, that's too good. That should be entered in the medical category. That's medical grade. That's not recreational." I heard that story.
I tried some of I don't know what they were non-solvent entries, and there were 12 of them. There were some very nice ones in there. Yeah.
Well, we know a couple of we know who made a few.
Yeah, we know some of them. There's 4 that I really want to go taste. So
yeah, no, it's. I think people are starting to figure out though too that they do like now. There was almost no solvent list. I think there was 2 last time. So it's actually getting to the point where now people are starting to figure out like, hey, there's a whole other category which no one's really. Well, somebody's exploiting it.
in the competitive realm.
But in general, most people are not really thinking that way. They're thinking always
10 cup. There was 75 extracts and 8 non-solvent.
Right.
There you go. Yeah. I think a lot of people are stepping up the game too and showing. I mean, Facebook in general is showing people the quality that can be achieved without solvents, and people are believing again. I think Mila, you traveled and saw it with your own eyes to believe it.
Yeah.
And here, people can just kind of like hop on their phone wherever while they're waiting for a bus and see it, and then they're inspired all of a sudden. And once you see it, you're inspired. You know. Can you tell people, for people who aren't familiar with you, because we do have a lot of younger listeners who are just kind of getting into it and really enthusiastic, tell people a little bit just about your history and how you came to here.
The whole history. I want the whole thing.
It's a whole history. If you're really interested in the whole history of the Cannabis Cup, I have a booth, Pollinator Company 303C. We're on the non-solvent block. And there I have a movie, and I'll sign it for you.
There you go.
And that will tell you the whole.
Can you give a preview of the history?
Yes, I will tell you the whole thing. But coming that I'm sitting here now actually might also have something to do with Adam. Because the very first time that I built my pollinator, it was in his CIA shop that we showed it off to the world. He even got a black piece of velvet to cover it with.
Yeah, made sure to keep it under wraps for a while.
Yeah.
And then I got to use it. Then I got to use it for about 6 months or so, and that was pretty awesome because I was the only guy in Amsterdam with pollinator. So that's a big deal. Because then I just had everyone kind of like people were like,
made you a lot of friends, didn't it?
Yeah, they were like, man, you got a lot of people coming to do laundry at your house. I was like, yeah, it's crazy, right? It's just like one after another, we're going to the laundry bag, just rolling in. It's like.
Yeah, that was fun in those days.
No, those were good days.
Yeah.
And then that was in 1993 because that's when we opened up CIA. I think it was maybe 94. It could have been 94.
Yeah, I think 94.
Yeah, just because we started in July. Well, we started in July, but then I think the pollinator was after the New Year. When do you remember what month it was?
No, we were there in the weekend of the Cup.
The second
and
Cup.
That's why everybody was there.
Was it 93 Cup or 94 Cup?
93 Cup.
Wow, 93 Cup.
Because it was when I first got there.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, when it's like, I mean,
but that's the part of that I'm sitting here.
And that was your first. That was your first real business adventure beyond obviously other business.
But already for 50 years, I've been much more attracted to smoke hash than weed. And for me, part of the reason is that it's in the crystals that all the things are that you want, and not so much in the dried plant matter. So also when I started smoking in '64 in Amsterdam, you could only get hash. There was no weed at that time over there anyway. There was Lebanese, there was Turkish, Irani. I don't think the Afghan had made it over by then. But immediately from the word go, hash was my drug of choice. The first time I smoked, I was rolling on the ground laughing. And then I traveled a lot. I was in India for quite a long time. Came back, and for my 4 kids, suddenly had to start making an income. And it became the Pollinator Company. There was a few years before that I grew a lot. And
those are the Orange Bud days? Or?
Those are the Orange Bud days.
Those are the Orange Bud days.
Wait, I don't even know about the Orange Bud.
I even have a postcard of one of the last greenhouse that we filled with Orange Bud. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the legendary strains of Amsterdam that kind of it was the difference between those were like the quality growers and the quality people who manicured, and just like they were really into it, and everybody was on they were like they were all doing it for the right reasons, and that kind of came through in the product. And I mean, to this day, there was like I literally was saying to Mila the day, I kind of remember when it all sort of fizzled, it seemed like, because it was down to only a few crews that were doing it right, and then when they were done, that was it, and a friend of mine, she was manicuring at a house at the time, and the cops raided the place, and it was like they were like crying almost downstairs because they knew that the last clone was sitting up in a little cup up there, and it was gone when they came back. So they're like, they got the clone even.
And they sell Orange Bud seeds now in Holland, but because it only ever came across as a female clone, and for like all those years it was kept going, they must have crossed it with something else, because it certainly doesn't have the flavor or the taste than the original Orange Bud.
You had to be there. It was one of those deals, right?
Now everyone on the internet is going to be questing for Orange Bud. It's going to be the most requested strain on Strain
In those
Traders
days,
this
it
week.
was like the only thing that my partners that I was working with anyway felt was worthwhile growing. There wasn't much more than bird feed otherwise in those days. And then I'd come back from India to Holland, and suddenly everybody's growing weed and smoking weed, but I still really like my hash. So we used to sit in a cold room and do it by hand, like Afghan style, and that took hours and hours. Then, actually, it was, of course, the dryer that tumbles the clothes that inspired me. That's what the leaves are doing inside the pollinator, and that was the first machine. And it was the first mechanical way or way to separate the crystals. Up until then, it had always been manual.
So, that was 93, you said?
Yeah, 93,
and then
94.
you showed it off at CIA, and what was the response? Like, that was the only one, obviously, for a little while, it sounds like.
No, I think we had 5,000 guilders in those days, and it was just enough to build 5 machines.
Yeah.
And then when we sold those, we had enough to build 7, and that's how the whole
It was.
company
I would
started.
say personally that there was a mixed response, because the traditional people were a little bit like, oh no, now everybody's going to be doing it kind of thing, you know what I mean? Because they didn't want it, because it was hard work and nobody wanted to make it too easy for anybody. So there was a little bit, I could tell there was a little grumblings amongst the older ones. Obviously all the people who had never seen any hash making stuff thought it was awesome. Right. And then of course you're going to have I'll go build it myself. How much is it? It's too expensive, because that's your classic Dutch response on anything. I'll just build it myself. So the mechanics were of course, like people would go, I can do it myself. But then in the end of the day, it's also like you when you put something like that together, you realize there isn't that much profit in the long run. It's actually more about perfecting it over time. And by the time you've built your first one and then they've built their first one, you're on your third one. And it just keeps going. They evolved quickly. I remember the green ones were awesome, the little small green ones that you had.
Those were being made by the same factory that made for the Dutch railway lines.
Really? No, they were made really well. I noticed
but that was a drag, because anytime they needed anything, our order would end up way at the
You have to
back
wait
of the line.
behind them.
Yeah, no, it's
Very cute, yeah.
It's Dutch. Well, it's also interesting too, because such a simple process, and but it could be made so complicated if you wanted to. You know what I mean? However you want to do it. Do you want to do it like that? But also that was also single screen. I mean, it was very rudimentary in a sense, like compared to what we're at now. Now everything is multiple screens.
It was 4 years later till we came up with water method and to make the bags.
Yep.
And that started the whole thing.
Well, that was more groundbreaking in a sense than because it was, you know, the funny part too is like. I got my friends in Switzerland who saw your machine, and they decided that they would build theirs as big as a room, you know. So they built this huge room, and it had flat screens. It wasn't a circle. It was still like more of a big square of screens. But it would lift very slowly, you know, and then it would just drop on the screen. And they'd only do it like 2 rotations, and it was done. But they could throw like maybe 40 kilos on at a time, you know what I mean, and just blap it away. But I was like, yep, this is how things are going. It went from like one machine to some giant room somewhere, you know. And then, of course, the water hash made people think, oh, well, wait, this is even a way to make it better percentage coming off, cleaner, and able to be divided. Then you can also play with your qualities a little bit. And that's where we are today. But now, actually, what's really funny is I've noticed a lot of people, like the real heads, want good hash, good water hash or good dry sieve.
I've been telling people here that I have the booth, and there's most interest to come and buy a pollinator.
Yeah, awesome. No, I've already sold one for you too. I've already got my boy. He's ready. He's been begging me to get one for
Well, I got 3 big ones.
Okay, well, I think one of them's already gone then.
2 big ones left.
I think another one is already gone.
Oh, one left. We have
one big one left.
That's it.
Make it down on the pollinator. It was 303C, you said, Mila?
Yeah.
303C in the non-solvent block. That's with Nicotine, and I know who else is in there. The Source Genetics. Yeah, those are our good friends. Yeah, a bunch of good folks in that, and definitely some of the best things to smoke. That's where I'm hanging out, All Cup. I've already said that.
Well, before then, I hope to see you on Thursday night at Hoodlum for our great event.
The Labadoo. Labadoo.
I've been asking Adam if I'm allowed to go for like 3 weeks now. My friend actually texted me yesterday. He's like, are they letting you go or not?
It's an honor for Mitch to be allowed to
come to the lab.
This is the first time that we actually have a press section.
So nice. There's a press section at the... Nice. All right. There we go. Sweet. Press at the Labadoo. Cool.
No, and I think this is going to be this week is actually. I mean, we have to keep going because there's more week stuff. What else is going on this week? Something else is good. What else? Oh, tonight actually, if you were in town and you're a breeder and you have some seed packs on you and you think you want to kind of meet up with other breeders who have seed packs on them, and you guys want to talk breeding and seeds and trades and whatever you want, come to the lab tonight from 7:10. Perfect time, right?
7 to 10, you said?
No, 7:10.
From 7:10,
yeah, exactly. Not 7:09 and not 7:11. 7:10, please.
7:10.
Thank you. So 7:10, starting, going on till the wee hours. No, the thing about cannabis events, one thing I have to say as an organizer for years and years is got to work on our stamina, people. Come on now. Sometimes I'm like, you guys. It's 11:30 and everyone's just faded on me like blam. They came in at 10 and faded at 11:30.
Dabs changed the game with it. Remember we were doing these dinners where we would just invite, it was invitation dinners. We'd invite 20, 30 people, whatever. And those things, some people would show up to the dinner. That one guy showed up and he took one dab, went to the bathroom, threw up, and then promptly showed up with a white face to the table, got his shit, and left.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's not your usual dab situation, but no, it is interesting to see how.
Amateurs, come on, some stamina, people.
Please work on your stamina. That's all I got to say as far as parties go.
My main thing I've learned about the dabbing is that you should let it cool off a bit.
No, you want the flavors. You don't let it hit it too hot, unless you're Dickie Loke, of course. Dickie Loke loves hot
nails.
Yeah, man, big because he does these ridiculously big dabs.
You got to get it hot.
Yeah, so he wants to hear it squeak. He likes to. It makes a little squeak,
Where it screams.
Yeah,
it screams. The short screams against
dabs.
the nail.
Yeah, that's what you know what we're talking about, right? Screaming nails.
Screaming nails.
Come on.
Okay.
We know what we're talking about.
I know it. I've seen it at Cups.
All right. Anyway,
I realized one thing that I've certainly not taken.
Carb caps are really nice. That's the one thing. The carb cap makes a big difference because without that, like the e-nails don't really work for me because they just kind of puddle and I get all mad at them.
How do you feel about the solventless on the e-nail, the non-solvent on the e-nails, especially the dry sift on the e-nail is really nice.
I've only had not much opportunity to have that.
We'll
but
make sure
I
that
must
happens.
say, okay.
Yeah, we'll make sure that happens. It's really nice.
I mean, it is actually.
I've had some of the nicotine stuff, and that works perfectly fine.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those, like, if it's it's weird though, because with any kind of water hash, to me on the nail, I don't like it that much. It kind of has a weird.
The water, I think, is a little weird.
It's something strange. It's like completely. It can be the exact same product, and it just tastes totally different. It tastes awesome when you hit it with a flame. Like you put it in a bowl, hit it with a flame,
or a hot stick.
All the flavor comes out, but as a dab, it's like it's just under the threshold. It doesn't quite get there.
Master's thesis for
You got to turn the temperature way down on it.
So what's the difference between heating it with a flame and
well, it's vaporizing it, isn't it?
So he's saying turn the temperature way down.
Yeah, you definitely got to turn the temperature on the nail down, and then you'll put a titanium pad over it.
Yeah,
Nicotine sells those things, and you can just drop. I don't necessarily love it with water, but I'll tell you with dry sift, Fletcher from Archive got me onto that. They call it the Fletch Tech, and that stuff is the best experience I've had with cannabis, hands down. It's so. The flavor comes through and the effect comes through so purely.
Well, with a dry sift, you always have more of the flavor because the water, no matter what, is always going to wash away.
Right, washes some of the terpenes out. So we should take one moment, if you don't mind, to shout out Way to Grow.
Once again, Way to Grow. And Incredibles.
We're doing it both, yeah.
We're going to do Way to Grow. You're going to do it this time.
Yeah, we're going to shout out Way to Grow.
Show me the addresses.
Show me the
skills. You don't know any addresses.
I don't. I should have notes. Adam knows the addresses, but they do have their big dirt sale going on. I was looking at the numbers on that earlier today, and it definitely, if you're planning on putting anything in a pot, which it seems like everyone's doing this time of year,
this is the time of year, isn't it?
Go there and pick up, like, they have the big bag of perlite for real super cheap. Like,
he's looking it up.
$11. They now I'm looking up this article. I'm bringing
1510 South Platte River is their superstore, which is down their newest shop. So if you want to go check it out, that would be the spot because they have everything in stock that you need, and if they don't, they'll get it. That's what I know.
That's what I know too. But they do have sale on, like, Roots Organics was like $11 a bag for the big bag.
Yep, they were having they were actually giving away a lot of stuff from Roots Organics too. They have in-store giveaways and stuff. So worth checking out. And then our other big sponsor is Incredibles, the #1 edible company here in Denver. They got all the best flavors. Chris knows them all. He probably won't repeat them because he looks like he's not in the mood. You're not in the mood to talk today? Or
sometimes he's in the zone and he's not chomping at
he's not feeling it. He's not feeling it. But awesome flavors. Are going to think. Did they add any? Okay, let me ask you this, Chris. Did they add any new flavors for this cannabis cup? Because
No, I don't think so. But they have that new Makiba bar.
The Makiba bar is a good. It's a.
Is that the granola bar?
Granola bar, right? Oh.
Yeah.
Kind of bar.
Awesome stuff. And like I said, they are in almost every shop out there pretty much. I think they're doing like 400 orders a week or something ridiculous.
And I know they had that like medicated chocolate fountain at the cup last year, so I'm sure this year there'll be something interesting.
If you can't find them, I'd be surprised. So I can't list all the shops because there's hundreds of them. So there you go.
There we go.
There you go.
All right.
That was pretty much the best advertisement I ever heard in my life. If I was a shop owner and I heard that, I'd be like, this guy needs some more money. So
we're getting better at it.
Anybody out there that wants to sponsor the show and help us get better at this?
Well, we have to talk about a sponsor right after we get off the air, actually.
Oh, cool.
And I do have, we have our sponsorship packets ready. If you do want to sponsor the show and you're listening, holler at the show or me on Facebook, and we'll link you up.
And then we have to give shout-outs to all the events that are going out. Big show starting today through Friday being the Galleria, which is a big open day for everybody, so open to the public. If you have a shop or if a head shop, dispensary, or anything related, definitely make your way down the next 2 days because it's all business to business, wholesale only, and the latest, greatest in all sorts of smokables. Not smokables, smokable items.
Smokeware.
Smoky stuff.
So basically go to the big show, get your stuff, then on Saturday bring it to the cup and you got the brand new fancy piece.
And Friday.
Or take it Friday night. Get it dirty early.
Yeah, come also Friday 1 to 3, Ed Rosenthal and me at the lab. that's if he can handle after all those stroopwafels he'll be handing out at your thing. So I don't know if. Hopefully,
I don't know
he
if
doesn't.
they're going to make it. Did they make it yet?
Oh, I don't know. Is that what we're waiting for? I'm waiting
One
for
of the things we're waiting for.
Oh,
nice.
Don't say that on the air. Now
love
Dred's going to go down there and wait for him. And
Yeah. You have security now.
I already know somebody who's like, hits all he wants. He'll be there.
We do have some Old Amsterdam cheese for you.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Beautiful. And let's see. Oh, God, there's so many events this week, too. What else we got that's pressing? We have Danny the Wild Child on Saturday, drum and bass. It's Uncontrollable. It's our monthly drum and bass. We did not change the date because of 420. We said, no, we're going to incorporate it in. We brought in Danny, and Danny is a big smoker. I think he pretty much chiefs on blunts all day, though, so I'm going to have to change his ways on the blunts. But anyway, besides that, so Saturday, Uncontrollable, and Sunday, we have the
Church of
Reggae. So keep your eyes open on the listings on all that stuff. And we are pretty much looking at like the craziest week of the year, and we're hoping it's just starting. I think the cool part is though, because we know it's going to be so crazy, like none of us are really stressing too hard.
This year, no. I think by now,
everybody's
I'm
like,
veteran
you know what?
enough to know what you just go in, you roll with the punches. You kind of have you don't have an agenda. You have some ideas of what you might want to accomplish, and you just go in and come out the other end.
Yeah. With your voice intact, hopefully.
Right?
Yeah. Well, that's Mila is Mila is the sort of litmus test of how deep we are into the event, because by the end it's like she's on stage, she's won these awards, she can't even really tell anybody what she's thinking at that moment. It's like So yeah, we know it's almost like Jack used to be back in the day too. Jack was always the same. Like he'd start off with a voice, but by the end of the day, it was just like gone. The voice was gone, and he had too much to say, and he couldn't kind of get it out. Actually, yesterday officially was Jack Herard Day, by the way, for all the people who missed it. Okay. It is the day that he died, unfortunately, but. Fortunately for us, it's all within a crazy week. He's created a holiday week now.
Yeah,
I have coined it.
It's like President's Day.
Well, I coined it Jack Herard Day because last year was it started on a Sunday. This year it started on a Monday last year, I guess, and it was this year on Tuesday. But then the week started, so it was like Monday till Saturday. But this is perfect. Jack Herard week, you know what I mean? So, and then and now we're looking at it where we're about to grow the first legal hemp this year in Colorado. We grew it last year. Didn't necessarily legal. We did it anyway. That's the way you do it. That's the Dutch way, actually, isn't it? You just do it, and then later someone tells you can't do it, and then you say, "Oh, sorry."
Easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Then permission. Yeah.
Well, that I've learned over the years. Very well. I learned a few things while I was there. that was one of them. But in general,
we're trying to open up a club in Amsterdam now, Spanish style.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, of course, growing for your members is totally out in Holland. So
for sure.
We're going to have to do it and see.
It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, it's like wow, you can do it in Spain, but you can't do it in Holland, where it's like this should have been done like that a long time ago.
Yes.
It's the more correct way to do it too, because you are acknowledging then the people that are your members and.
Yeah.
Whereas, and it's funny too, because you'd think in Holland they would love that, because that would create a internal policy that they could actually adapt, and they'd be like, okay, well, now it's really is for the Dutch people, and you know what I mean? And that's kind of all they ever wanted. They were being a bit nationalistic about it, but if they tried to survive on the Dutch pocketbook, it wouldn't work, because they don't spend enough money on cannabis. Everybody goes there for a tincture of the cheapest stuff that they can get. They don't care if it's what it is, and they just want it cheap, So that's a different. I mean, it would be nice that they adopt more of a policy like they do. It's similar to the Mormons do the same at their bars. They have their bottles of liquor on behind the bar with their name on it. And you, as an outsider, can't come in and go just to a bar and order liquor. You have to find somebody who's got a bottle up there, and then they can get it for you. Similar.
You, I don't know. I don't know if many of your listeners have ever been in Amsterdam, but if you guys have, you might have known the Bush Doctor coffee shop. Mm-hmm. He very sadly passed away.
Oh, I actually heard about that. Just
yeah.
Was it a car accident? No, was it?
No, it was. He had a brain tumor and ended up in a coma.
Oh, really?
But what I found out actually only after he died, he was a real racing car driver.
That's what I was thinking of the race car part. I was like,
that was amazing. They showed some footage of it, and he was full on in. What are the names of all these tracks in Europe?
Huh.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting segue. Bo, do we still have you on the line? Can we segue back to you for a moment? Because one piece of information I know people have been hanging on we're talking about cannabis, and we're talking about people having medical, conditions, and we never really got to talk about what you've discovered or what you've, I don't know if I want to call it discovered, realized, observed as far as interactions of cannabinoid ratios and specific ailments. And I definitely do want to make sure we get that into the show before we lose it. We know it's a little crazy because it's 420 week, and it is definitely always an honor to have Mila in the studio, but I definitely want to get that info out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, mostly what I've seen as far as like the cannabinoid ratios is, everybody goes on TV and they talk about CBD doesn't get you high and CBD is this magical molecule and all this kind of stuff. Well, CBD doesn't work without THC. It doesn't work without terpenes. I can make a concentrate that's 90% THC out of Jack Frost and then make the same 90% THC concentrate out of a Bubba Kush, and one's going to make you go to sleep and the other one's going to make you eat everything in your house. That last 10% of those terpenes and the other little minor cannabinoids are what actually gives these concentrates their effect. THC has the same effect at all times, so does CBD and all the other minor cannabinoids. It's how they work together that really makes a difference as far as the medical conditions. For instance, whenever we're dealing with like a PTSD or autism or bipolar, a psychological or a neurological issue, a 1-to-1 ratio of CBD to THC seems to work really, really well. For me, it's my happy pill. I take a 1-to-1 or I take a dab off of a 1-to-1 ratio, and I'm walking around with the biggest, goofiest grin on my face all day long, and I can't help it.
I know that grin very well. That's how I'm used to seeing you.
Are you sure that's cannabis? Are you sure that's cannabis? That's just not your goofy grin look.
Yeah, but that's how I'm used to seeing you. So that's the 1-to-1. So what about for other conditions?
Well, for epilepsy, specifically the kids that we've been working with, a 3-to-2 ratio seems to be the perfect combination. And
that's CBD to THC, so 60% CBD, 40% THC.
Yeah, roughly.
Right.
And for the kids, everybody's always so afraid of the kids getting high and stuff like that. But whenever we're talking about those ratios, we're talking about them taking a dose that's roughly the size of a BB. Mm-hmm. So just a pinhead, smaller than even a dab that most of us would take. And they're taking that orally twice a day and going from 30 to 50 seizures a day to none. To learning how to ride a bike again, to learning how to read and interacting with their family, looking their parents in the eyes. Actually going into a depression after a couple of weeks because they're realizing that they've been trapped inside of their body that's been attacking them their entire lives. And now, we had an 11-year-old little girl that was at the mental capacity of a 4-year-old because of her seizures. And within 2 weeks, she actually got depressed because she realized how far ahead of her all of her siblings and all of her friends were. And she wanted to know why she couldn't go ride a bike. So just amazing results off of tiny amounts of this stuff. For cancer patients, we look at around a 4-to-1, hopefully. We try to up the dosage of the CBD to bombard the system. And for them, they're at the opposite end of the spectrum. They're getting up to 1,000 milligrams a day, where these kids are dealing with 20 to 40. And across that whole spectrum, it works. For the kids, it's just enough to correct neural pathways and to correct everything going on in their brains. For the cancer patients, it's actually fighting the cancer cells and it's rebuilding their endocannabinoid system and their immune system, allowing them to actually eat and sleep and do all these other things without pain to where they actually can survive. So really, a big part of it is the THC. You can't have a cancer patient that needs appetite stimulation, that needs pain relief and all of these other things, and just give them CBD, expecting it to do the full spectrum of effects that cannabis brings to us. There's thousands of different strains out there with myriads of different effects and all of these different cannabinoid profiles and terpene profiles. To say that one molecule out of this plant is the key to everything is completely ignorant.
Yeah, well, that's going to be the
there's hundreds of, if not thousands of minor cannabinoids that we haven't even worked with yet.
So
We've been dealing with THC for decades. We've been dealing with CBD for 3 years, and look at the results that we have.
Exactly. And that's going to be the big fight, I think, amongst the people out there who think they're rallying for this great new thing, but they don't understand the mechanics of it all. Because, of course, like at the last trade show that I went to at Champs, there was a few booths there from a few companies, which I will not mention, but they were definitely scrupulous at least because they had these very slick, really nice looking booths. And they had these awesomely packaged products and everything looked really pro. At the end of the day, I was like, well, where is this stuff made and where does it come from and what is it? And then it turns out it's just all this bunk Chinese stuff, which is made from hemp. And it's not that there couldn't be a good hemp strain out there that could do it. I just don't think that the Chinese are out there looking for it. They're just basically...
Well, and that's the question of it is, how are they growing the hemp? What kind of extraction process are they using to extract the hemp? And what kind of solvents are they even using? You see the uproar that's going on with the secret cup and everything, with residual solvent testing and everything that's going on.
Yeah.
We hold our concentrates to a higher standard than the FDA even holds our food.
Mm-hmm.
So to think that we're going to give something to kids that's coming from China that doesn't even have the FDA's oversight, much less our own.
Yeah,
I trust my concentrates 100% of the time over that.
I mean, average person does not trust the dog food from China for their dog. Why would they ever want to trust the medicine from something?
Yeah, you're going to give that to your kid?
That wasn't even made for medicine. It was literally a byproduct from the ag world, which is kind of where a lot of the products out there. I mean, fluoride is a byproduct of the aluminum smelting, and there's all these different products out there which are probably not necessary, and I think they're just looking for opportunistic ways to take CBD oil and get it to kids, and then the kids don't get cured, and then it doesn't really help them. It's like, so I think it's doing way more negative for the industry by people sort of bandwagging together and go, oh, this is it, this is the newest thing. And it's not. It's just like a non-deliverable product, which looks good and is packaged really well. And luckily for them, I think it might even be similar to the way dogs, like if you work in the dog industry and or animal industry in general, and you come up with a product that the owners believe is working, that's all they need to know. The animal cannot actually tell you whether it's working or not. And it might be the same with this idea that they think, hey, most of these are young kids who we can just tell them what's up. Yeah, you're better. Look at, you're better now, right? And then the kid's gonna say, well, I don't know. What is he gonna know? Does he really know the slight nuances between, what is to feel normal and what is not if he's never been normal his whole life? So it's kind of an easy target. If you think about it, it's like cool. Making clothes for kids is not so hard either, because a lot of times people don't care. They just throw things on their kids, you know what I mean? But if you want to give stylish, you gotta put a little energy into that,
So.
Well, a big part of it that kind of drives me crazy, I'm pretty well known for my work with CBD in Colorado and, trying to come out to California to bring it out here and everything. But what a lot of people don't realize is I've worked with CBN for roughly the same amount of time, if not longer than I've worked with CBD, at least on the same scale that I've worked with CBD, and seen similar amazing results. Not the exact same thing. It doesn't have the exact same properties as CBD, but I've introduced CBN to people out here in California, and they're calling it the miracle pill. It's changing people's lives. They're recovering from surgery and going back to the gym. And I had a friend that got burned that put some of the CBN oil with some coconut oil mixed on the burn, and the next morning the burn was gone. There's so many properties to this plant. Between THC, CBD, and CBN, we can literally change the world. What's going to happen whenever we can get into CBD and THCV and all these other hundreds and hundreds of cannabinoids? We can actually see what's going on with them.
Yeah, that's always the I think the thing that's downplayed in this sort of gradual introduction into mainstream culture of cannabis, how we're really just, this is the first step has been able to, and when you consider the conditions that it's had to be researched and, understood in, it wasn't really conducive. Like, you pretty much had to hide and do it in secret. And, you didn't have any sort of the establishment infrastructure that let you verify. Like, labs are relatively recent thing. I know they've had in Europe for some time now, reasonable testing labs. but not in the grand scheme of things sometime at all.
No, I think there's only one or two.
Yeah.
There's a very good one in Germany. Yeah.
But they're not, it doesn't, even then, it doesn't go all the way back, to as long as we've been interacting with this plant by any means. And generally speaking, it's just been experiential. And this goes back to what we were saying before. This is the value of testing. It lets us verify things. And when you're sort of like, man, I think this is, it has that cherry flavor. I think it might be CBD. You can for sure say, yeah, this is CBD. Let's try it in a 2-to-1 ratio for this. So it's about putting all these pieces together, and we know there are more pieces out there. We know that there are at least 65 cannabinoids that we didn't talk about at all, that we haven't extracted necessarily because they're difficult to test for with the current technologies. We know.
Well, and we've bred them out for decades.
Oh, and that too. Yeah, they're all in like minor amounts.
THC for so long.
Yeah.
And they are. If we, like you said, Bo, I mean, if we just look at what one thing CBD can do, what one thing THC can do, all these, and what they can do in their combinations, in those combination of just those two things, and as we introduce more now, maybe CBN, 3 things. But as you said, bring in CBG, CBC, THCV, the ones we know the names of at least, and then there are all the other ones that we don't know the names of. But as we get all those things in, we can start developing this a complex system of addressing specific ailments with one plant. I think that's always what blows my mind. I don't know, to put it a fine point on the medical aspect of cannabis.
Yeah, no, it's always going to be like a learning curve on all these things where and part of that is the I mean, one thing I think everyone's been trying to figure out, strain specific ailments from this plant does this for this thing, and that's really very
well, due to kind of what you were saying before, doing any plant specific, because like your strain, you give it to the guys who grow it good.
Yeah,
it's probably going to have a similar cannabinoid profile, depending on how you grow it, whatever. But when someone who doesn't know how to grows that, it's going to be a really different plant end of the day. Because this is one thing I keep thinking about, how like each cannabinoid is like a link in a chain that turns into the other. Like it starts in the plant as the CBGs, and then it progresses, and it like this one chemical turns into all these other things. It moves into becoming THC acid. Then if it's heated, it'll turn into THC. Heat it too much.
I think that's probably genetically determined.
For sure.
If you can really change a plant.
I think that's absolutely, but that's what's fascinating to me, is that it goes through all these phases. This one chemical has all these.
Yeah, but you can also get, like, for instance, you get a winter crop and you don't get much yield, but you get amazing amounts of resin. You know what I mean? So the same plant can kind of, it can adjust itself. And it's like I know somebody who would grow around 50 degrees in their tent, and then they'd be like, yeah, I harvest in 6 weeks. I'm like, well, it's dead on the vine, dude. It's like, come on now, you can't put it at 50 degrees, and of course but look at all the resin. I was like, yeah, it's really resinous because it's like dying
because there's no flowers.
It's dying. It's like, please just protect me with whatever I can. So the plant can really, it can evolve, and that's a classic, like, badly grown but yet super potent. You know what I mean? And somebody gives it to you. You don't see the plant and see how ugly it was. He cuts those little tiny buds off, and you get, oh my god, this is off the chain. But yeah, totally not very productive. You know what I mean? They're going to grow like a really low yielding and super resinous version of whatever.
You were mentioning earlier that the CBDs have very much been bred away, especially I know in Holland the Dutch seed companies do that. And are you also thinking that leads to, especially with young kids, more psychological or schizophrenic problems?
No.
No. Okay.
No, because I think that whole they kind of.
I think it more needs to be in balance. And
well, they've debunked they've debunked a lot of the whole schizophrenia things.
But that's big hype in Europe.
Oh, that's all they ever talk about. England is like the #1 headline. Schizophrenia.
No, because they bred away the CBDs.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I think definitely where'd bite go when we talk about our favorite East Coast sour diesel. It just has that ratio where it's not even that high in THC. It's just 14% or 17% or whatever, but very low, negligible CBD, and it gives you that mind racing. You can get paranoid, and if you're of the certain temperament, I could see, and if you're smoking every day and you're living in this like really paranoid state for like months on end, it could maybe drive you over the edge a little bit, but you should quit before that.
And one key to all of that, whenever you're dealing with especially strains like the Sour D that get racy like that, it's not even so much the THC that's so racy, it's that terpene profile.
Yeah.
So whenever we're giving CBD oils to kids especially, and we're dealing with these conditions, we're giving them activated oils. These oils have been heat treated to where all of the THC, all of the CBD is no longer THCA or CBDA. It's purely activated THC and CBD. Most of those terpenes get cooked off in that process. There's very little flavor left to that oil. Therefore, your real indica or sativa effects from the original plant, most of those have gone out. So you're not really going to be dealing with a whole lot of like a racy sativa in the morning giving it to a kid because there's really no terpenes to it, and it's such a small dose that there's really just not that much there to affect them.
Can you say something about people have been talking about RSO, Rick Simpson oil? I don't know. It has other names. And I know a lot of people, it's one of the ways that I think healing has gone viral, on the internet with cannabis. A lot of people have seen that video. And then with skin cancer, I think it's a treatment that people are willing to try because they're not ingesting it, even people who are skeptical of ingesting cannabis. And so I think it's opened a lot of people's eyes. I know, when I first shared it with people, probably 6 years ago now, it was no one believed it, but when they started seeing it, it was the first time they'd ever seen anyone talking about cannabis that way. And it really was very different. So I know it has a lot of appeal, but I think certainly in the method he advocates in the video there, where he tells you to use naphtha as a solvent, that's not a safe thing for anyone to do for processing or ingesting.
The way I feel about the Rick Simpson oil, I have a lot of respect for Rick Simpson for what he's done for this industry, bringing cannabis oil specifically, at least the information to the masses, showing actual documented cases of skin cancer and all of these other people that he treated, and actually showing proof that it can work. I don't agree with his methods. I don't agree with naphtha. Stuff is disgusting and scary, and I would never give it to my patients. I do have endless appreciation for him for inspiring me to develop my activated BHO lines and oils and everything else that I've done, as well as the CBN oil, CBD, all of that stuff, because I watched those same videos back in the day, and that stuff was so disgusting with the naphtha that I became determined to find a better way. There had to be a better, cleaner, more efficient, safer way for not only the maker, but also the patient.
You didn't like the skull and crossbones, or what?
Yeah.
That kind of threw you off. It threw you off a little bit. You're like, something wrong here.
Yeah, I mean, you can walk across the street and get hit by a truck and die. Everything in life can and probably will kill you at some point. The point of all of this is to make the safest possible environment for the maker and as well as the patient. And for me, especially since we've had the developments with closed loops and things like that over the last year, everybody's stepping towards a much safer, much cleaner process. We can control our solvents much more. It's kind of the same thing as the Chinese hemp oil. I don't know what they're making that with. I don't know what goes into that naphtha. I don't know where that came from or how refined or clean it is. If my solvent isn't clean enough, I have a machine that can clean it even more. So we take this to a level that's far higher than, like I said, even the FDA takes it, but really anybody else. So if it's not coming from, someone within our industry that is taking it to that level and taking that level of responsibility, then I'm not really going to recommend it for patients, and especially a process that's that dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, that's obvious. We don't want anybody to get... We definitely never tell people that they should be at home blasting, because we know for a fact it should be left. I mean, that's the cool part about Colorado is we have professionals doing this job every day. That's what they do. So
that's that thing. It's like we're at that point where we do have that much like legit infrastructure where like, okay, you can do that. You can get a tank of butane from the manufacturer, and you can get this grade of machinery, and look how fast it's advancing now.
Yeah, no, for sure. And obviously we want it to be safe, and we want this whole industry to progress, but we also like for instance with CO2 extraction, I'm not a big fan just for flavors, and I don't like how it tastes. I don't like what it pulls. Then again, it has its place, I guess, when you're talking about food grade or whatever. But even then, I don't know.
If we're going to replace an RSO process with that, we're making something that's activated and clean. You're making a safer process for that essentially. So,
sure.
like
So
you
would
said,
you
it definitely
recommend
has its
CO2
place.
over RSO generally?
Say again?
Would you generally recommend CO2 oil where someone would be thinking about using Rick Simpson oil? Would you recommend that they try, CO2 oil for that condition?
Absolutely. Either an activated CO2 or an activated VHO. Just because, the solvent's going to be cleaner. With the CO2 especially, there's no real solvent left at that point. There's no even so much need to purge. If you're taking in CO2, it's not really that big a deal.
Right, you take in CO2 every time you breathe.
Personally, I would just recommend away from a quote-unquote RSO 100% of the time. I would recommend a CO2, an activated BHO, maybe an alcohol extraction, something like that, over just naphtha, because we don't know what's in it. We don't know where it comes from. We don't know who's making it. And like I said, it's the same thing with the Chinese stuff. They don't care about us. They have no interest in patients or, what people are taking this for. They're just trying to get it done and get it out. So what it comes down to is if you're buying medicine, spend an extra $5 and buy medicine. And go to somebody that you trust and go to somebody that cares about you, that is going to continuously make quality product that's clean and that's safe, that you're not going to have to worry about. This is your livelihood. This is your kid who has epilepsy. This is your parent who has cancer. Spend an extra $10. Spend an extra $20. Spend an extra $50 if you have to, because otherwise you're going to be spending tens of thousands of dollars through hospitals and doctors and everything else. Spend the money, get the quality product, or go to somebody who can get you the quality product at a better price.
And Bo, I don't want to cut you off, but we are wrapping up on the time here. But is there a way people can get in touch with you if they've heard this and they want to find out more about how they can maybe seek medical benefit through cannabis?
My Facebook is the best way to get in touch with me. It's BHO Johnson.
And we can link you, I think, off the page's Facebook too.
Y'all can link me in the description and everything. Anybody's welcome to send me a friend request, send me a message, whatever. I do have about 100 unread messages right now, and I'm planning on sitting down and going through those in the next day or so. So it may take me a minute to get back to people, but I am working 16-hour days, 7 days a week right now, trying to put a project together to get CBD in patients' hands. So if they give me a little bit of time, we're going to make it happen.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for your time today, and we know you have a lot of work to do. We would love to bring you back on. We always love to hear from you, Bo, and we hope to see you soon, man.
Yeah, get you in the studio next time you're here, too. So we can
for
awesome.
sure.
I'll be in town next month. Hopefully I can get up with y'all.
Yeah,
sample
definitely.
the wares, obviously.
Yeah,
it's way easier to communicate live when we have weed. So we are going to wrap up. I want to say thanks to Mila. Of course, we can never do all the history of Mila in one show. It's impossible. And
It's like a series.
Yeah, it's a series. It's a mini-series.
Maybe it's a mini-series.
Oh, Mila, the mini-series. But if you have a chance to get down to see her at the show, she's got her movies there. Then you can really get the history of Mila.
Don't forget, catch her at the Dabadoo.
And the Dabadoo tomorrow at the Hood Lab, 3354 Larimer. Also want to clarify that on Friday we have 1 to 3 o'clock. We have Ed Rosenthal and me at the shop. There are tickets because it is at a paid thing. It's short. It's not too expensive, but it's definitely we're going to cram a lot of info in there. You can go to cloverleafuniversity.com and check out their stuff and get tickets and stuff like that. I want to give a shout out to my beautiful wife and beautiful baby up on the mountain, all my crew up there, Alfio and Shane up there now, and James grinding away. Even at the 420 week, we don't stop the grind.
Don't stop for the holiday.
Don't
There's
stop
no rest
the grind
for them.
And then my mom and Rob and everybody out at the farm also grinding away, building the barn. We're just
Building the barn.
Yeah,
Nice.
this is real stuff. We're
All
building
right.
the barn.
Manifesting.
Exactly.
I like this.
So,
and I got a shout out, of course. Got a shout out to Reese.
Reese and the almost baby that
and the
happened
almost
today.
baby that we thought happened. That's what the red phone is, by the way. If people were watching on video, this cell phone huge phone will ring.
It's an actual cell phone. It looks like it's pretty cool.
So if you see me at the cup, pull that out. There's no threat, but I have a baby. Yeah.
That would be my
I want
phone.
a guy with a pillow to carry it and like a glass case behind me.
That's it. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, right? When you get a midget working for you, that's what you could do.
That's my dream.
Yep.
Has always been. And let's see. Big show today, tomorrow, Friday, Cannabis Cup, Saturday, Sunday.
Church of Reggae on
Church
Sunday.
Reggae
We're going to go
Sunday.
backwards now.
Yeah,
Church of Reggae Sunday, drum and bass Saturday, Friday night, Friday 1 to 3 class, and also come by in the evening to pick up CBD clones.
Exactly.
Contact us first, please, via the Facebook page. And tonight,
Dabadoo, of course.
Oh, Dabadoo Thursday.
You almost forgot it.
But Dabadoo Thursday, and then tonight, if you have seeds,
you
like seeds,
or you want
and
seeds,
want to see other people's seeds, and maybe somehow,
I'll show you mine. It's like basically I was going to call it show and tell. So it's the show and tell. That's to me. If you're a real stoner, then you loved show and tell as a kid, because I know that all of us had this little secret thing where we wanted to bring the coolest thing into school. I know that. I mean, that's part of being a stoner, is to have the best thing in your pocket. Like I have the best weed, and then you think you have the best weed,
right? And
then some other guy pulls out the best weed, and then we're all bummed, right?
Right.
Same thing, show and tell.
Or the most novel.
You pulled it. You went and thought you got something cool, and then this other kid came in and just blew your ass out of the water.
Yeah,
You're
your arrowhead is shit, Adam.
Arrowhead. Puh. Yeah, exactly. I got a piece of the space shuttle. I got a piece of the space shuttle. The one that blew up. Yeah.
It's like, I got a piece of the Berlin Wall.
So yeah, exactly. So show and tell tonight at the Hood Lab, 7:10 to midnight.
It was great to be here, and I want to thank you for bringing.
Of course, Mila.
Yeah.
You're always
we're gonna have at the Cup. We'll be at least recording, maybe broadcasting. So of course we'd love to talk to you there. Maybe we can even walk around the booths and catch you at the booth.
If you can move in that crowd.
I heard they sold it out. Are we running over time, Adam?
Of course. If you need to get a CBD clone and you haven't somehow figured out, because we've said it 10 times, because I've noticed somebody else said it, come down to the Hood Lab on Friday. And we'll be having a few extra ones there.
Yeah.
And maybe we have 2 bringing some more. So.
Yeah, and we can get 2 to bring some more. And remember, if you do take a CBD clone, we expect you to mom that out, make more clones, pass it out. Don't let people monopolize the medicine, and then hit Bo up on Facebook and find out how to help people, and then you're really doing something. That's changing the world right there.
Nice one. And I'll be down at the booth at all those shows. I have no idea the numbers because I don't pay attention to those things. But I know we're right at the entranceway to the smoking section, so pretty much that's where you're going to all come to anyway.
And is that where the limo's going to be?
The limo will be out front.
Okay.
Keep your eye out for the limo.
Somewhere we'll be broadcasting.
Keep your eye out for the Adam Dunn Show limo. It'll be all around. If you're jump in, hang out with us.
And if you can't, and we'll, if you're someone we want to talk to, hit us up, and we'll bring you on the air too. If we've discussed bringing you on the air, like live at the Cup, we're gonna try to do a very improv show, even more improv than usual.
You would never imagine us doing improv, would
right?
You? You'd think that everything we do is scripted.
Don't you see the iPads?
Well, that's illusionary. We're actually doing. I'm playing like cards or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing on these. Thank you, everybody. See you guys next week. Keep all those questions coming and keep our show exciting. And we'll make it.
Yeah.
You got a call? Is this it?
No,
I thought that was a baby phone.
That's not it. No,
baby phone.
The baby phone is a bell.
See you guys
later. Guys, check us out on Facebook. Keep an eye out if we're doing anything this weekend as far as broadcasts and events. It's being put out on the Adam Dunn Show, so link with us.
Yep. AdamDunn.com, is it?
AdamDunnShow.com, and then on Facebook, it's the Adam Dunn Show.
See, I just like
and on iTunes now.
I just want to hear my name said.
Yeah, he loves it. On iTunes, you can just look up Adam Dunn Show on iTunes. And
there's Bike.
Subscribe. Bike's back.
Bike's back. We had major questions for you, but you weren't here, so
yeah,
never mind.
It turns out the station's canceled, Bike.
Yeah, this is it.
This is it. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.